Welcome to the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson, Rick Avalos, and their special guest. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Well, welcome everybody to our November show. This is actually our last show of the year. And I can't believe this is already 2 years of broadcasting. We've been doing this, how it's gone by, and we've had such a blast. We've had such wonderful guests. Ella, thank you for being with us tonight. It's going to be a great show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Ricky, how are you, sir? It's good to see
I
you.
am doing terrific, Jeffy.
Good. Good.
You're looking good.
Well, I'm
You
feeling a
came
lot
out
better than I have
under
been.
the weather. You're looking good and on the mend.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it stays that way.
It will be.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we've got about 26, 27 images this evening, which is a nice evening. So we're going to be chatting. Yeah, we got 27 images. So we're going to let Ella kind of be our lead on each image to give her 2 cents, and Rick and I'll jump in and tell her where she's wrong. And then,
Thank goodness.
and as I've been mentioning, you guys, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Please use the chat box to put your questions in. Well, Cliff will keep an eye on that for us. And if there's an important question, then by all means, he's going to ask. Because we want this to be about learning and the camaraderie and the whole thing. So we are kind of basing it on PPA rules. We're talking about the elements of design and such, but it's not glued to that. So if you're trying something new, by all means, that's cool. A couple quick announcements, and then we'll get on with the show here. As I mentioned, that we are not having a program in December, but we are going to have our next show on January 23rd, where we are flipping the tables here. Rick and I are going to provide the images, and you guys are going to make the comments. And it's all about a learning situation. And you don't have to. I know, because some people go, I don't. So please still come and join in and listen in. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to add to it. But by all means, that's what it's all about, is just to kind of get you guys. I know for me, Rick and I have talked about it. I'm sure Dennis and Ella agree. Judging has been such a wonderful teacher, hasn't it, guys, over the years?
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Whatever level of photography that I am, gosh, I'd have been far farther behind if I hadn't entered in competition and listened to the comments of the jurors and made the changes that they suggested. Not all the changes were the right ones, in my opinion, but they were changes, and that's a matter of growth, I feel. I just am so appreciative of the help that we've gotten along the way. And before we get too much further into it, I want to give a shout out to Cliffy, our engineer, soon to be chief engineer, at an increased salary.
Does he have to wait for the
keeping
chief?
us going and keeping us online.
I'm
We
saving
can't
up
call
for
him
my
chief
trip to
now.
South
He has to
America.
wait.
I'm saving up for my trip to South America. So yeah.
Too cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that's it. And then again next year we've got programs scheduled for February through November with more of our wonderful friends to help out with our critiquing and our, I hate to use the word judging, but with that just fun like this. So stay tuned for that. We've got some other programming involved. We're going to continue with some of our interviews. We've got several of our good friends on tap for some more interviews. Please go to our site, the Image Critique Show, and our YouTube page to listen to some of those interviews that we've done already. We've got some more.
And they've been some great interviews. Warren Motz, I mean, just some wonderful time spent with these icons of our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're just trying to keep all of that in the forefront here, because I mean, unfortunately, a lot of us are getting old, and some of the new people don't know the charms and the knowledge and the cool things of some of the folks that we had the opportunity to learn from and hang out with over the years. So that's all we're trying to do. So if anybody has an idea of someone that you'd like to see interviewed, please let us know. We're happy to talk with them and see if we can add it to our library. Already have, let's see, who do we have lined up? We have, gosh, help me out, Ricky. Who else are we talking to?
Tony Corbell.
Tony Corbell is going to talk with us. Bert Benke, um, others like that. Some of our old friends or the old guard, just
Yeah.
to come in and share some old stories with us
You
all.
know, I get kind of a kick out of it that when you approach these wonderful people and ask them, you're such an icon, you've been around for so long and this and that, we'd love to do this interview. You wonder if they're thinking, do they know something about my health that I don't know?
This is true.
That's so funny. I'm getting an ASP honorific this year, and that's
Oh,
exactly
nice.
the thought I had.
Like they're thinking we better hurry up before it's too late,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Ouch.
Let's
We've
do it.
also, what we did, we interviewed Unmish Dinda of Pix and Perfect here a few months ago. His interview was just a delight. I've been reaching out to some of the other guys that I've been following that are not PPA, not Americans, some English and Irish and Scottish fellas that are just phenomenal. So we're going to be interviewing some of them just to share some cool things with you. So if there's anybody that you would like to have us talk to, let us know. Happy to reach out. And again, doesn't have to be the PPA industry by any means. It can be anybody that you're excited about their work.
Yeah.
Shifting gears real quick, we have some brand new merch. See, look at here's one of our new pullover. We have this. We have polo shirts, hats. We've got vests, and I'm building the store right now, so it'll all be available on the imagecritiqueshow.com real soon to have your own merch. It's the bomb. You got to have the stuff. So it'll be happening pretty good. Ricky, what else do they need to know, or should we go into actually why we're here?
Um, Gosh, I think we've covered it, and I think that our viewers, our dear colleagues, are ready to get in and learn from Ella. Because man, she has a background that you got to go to her site, and it's on our site where you can link to her and just some beautiful, imaginative, creative work. She's a master, not only of photography, but your masters from arts, right? Yep,
Yeah, master
fine art.
master's
Yeah,
degree in visual art.
Right.
there
Yeah.
you go. All right.
Yeah,
Yep.
some of the work, some of the pieces she's put out there, just you'll sit and look at it and just like, where'd this come from?
Yeah. Is this
Well, and
really
that's a good
crazy?
point because
It
not
is, but
only
it's
the
great.
imagination that Ella has, but the way she executes it and puts it in a form of visual form that has really such depth and dimension that almost makes you feel like that image is right in front of you physically.
Yeah,
Thank
Beautifully.
good
you.
stuff.
Thank you. Yep. Yeah, I had a real life exhibit a couple of years ago. And so I'm standing in the back and people are asking the owner of the gallery, who did these? And he pointed to me and go, she looks so normal.
Oh, well, that I take that as a compliment.
Yes, yeah, yeah. It was my aliens. So yeah,
That is too funny. Oh
it
God.
is funny.
I'm just looking at, I get these notifications on my phone of when people are at the site. And we just had, in the last 5 minutes, we've had somebody from Buenos Aires, somebody from Russia, and somebody from Germany
Wow.
looking at our website right now. So I hope they join us here, but it's kind of cool that we're getting a little bit of a great following. Also, if you haven't already, please look us up on YouTube and like us. We could use the numbers. We're
Yep.
about 30 away from having that magical 160 where we can start doing more things. So tell everybody about it and go, at least go and like us. Even if you don't look at us, just like us.
And you'd be
Nice.
hopefully pleased to know we have celebrities. Steve Buscemi.
Oh, Steve Buscemi's following us. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
I know. Yeah. We're going to invite
Well,
him to the party.
I kind of think we've covered a lot of ground here, and maybe we should get into the.
Talk about an image or two. Let's do that. I'm going to steal the screen here and start pulling up some images. Okay, so you can see my screen.
Yep.
Let's go into the first image of this evening oops, let me enlarge it a little bit, is called A Moment of Solitude. Well,
And
we're going
before
to
we
flip
go
right
too
into
far,
oh, yeah.
Ella, at
Yes.
the bottom left,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a
Oh,
little
there it
green,
is. Yeah.
there's a little green pencil, annotate. If you click on
Okay.
that,
Oh, good to know. Awesome.
and then the blue thing, you can pick, whatever. Like we talked about before we went on air.
Okay, cool. Okay. Really nice tonal range on this. Really good range from blacks to whites. The contrast is very nicely handled. I like the fact that the bird is sitting there, adds a great deal of interest. There's a lot going on here, a lot of patterns and stuff, and it can get really confusing when you have so many different patterns happening. But in a way, it kind of all fits together because it gives us a lot of atmosphere. We've got a nice presentation on this. By that, for those of you who aren't kind of used to PPA terminology, the presentation is the integral matting, the outside border that's put on this with the pinstriping. So it's got a nice look. Yep, exactly, right there. So what I'm looking at that might kind of be a detriment in a way is up here, and let's see, I'm not sure. Do I just click on the annotate and then, yeah, right up
Yeah,
here.
yeah. There you go.
Yeah, there's a shadow there on his face that's kind of makes him look like he has a black eye almost. So that's a little bit of a point where you might run into an issue that's confusing the viewer or kind of a lack of a little fill-in light right there. It's tough though because of the way the bird is in front of this man. So really
Right.
cool atmosphere though. And I'm looking at all these patterns and it's really interesting. It looks like he's in the middle of a bazaar or in his house, and there's kind of like a prayer corner or something like that. Um, Maybe it's Mongolian, something like that, Nepal.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
kind of
looks
what I'm
like that
guessing.
area of
Doing.
the world, maybe.
Yeah.
Really cool, though. So, yeah, I really appreciate the tonal range, especially on this one. The depth of the blacks and the brightness of the whites and everything in between kind of falling in where it should fall is pretty nicely handled. So, what about
Ricky,
you
what do you want
guys?
to add to that?
Yeah, I right on. If I would add anything, it would be just maybe to tone down the area on the carpet in front of the subject to kind of bring that value or tone of values uh, kind of within everything else that's within the image. But yeah, I'm thinking this is you know the Mongolian riders on the horses that train the eagles or the hawks. I don't know, eagles, I guess, to hunt. But man, this is such a storytelling image. For me, it has a lot of impact, uh, and I agree with the shadow under the eye and to the left. I whether it's available light or whatever, but still the storytelling is there. And compositionally, we notice that the main part of the image is in that PowerPoint at the third. Well done.
Do you think you would have maybe backed off on the crop a little bit, loosened it up a little bit at all?
Not sure because I'm not sure that
I
I
mean,
would.
if the
If
space is
anything,
correct.
I would probably give a little more space to the left. Um, but I guess as I'm looking at it too, are we looking at a gray valued matte, Jeffrey? Is that
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah,
yeah.
it is. It's almost the same tone as the background in Photoshop.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's the
And I'm not
border.
sure that
Here's the border right
that's
here.
if we couldn't pick a better choice of matte color and the width of the matte, I would say bring it in about half the distance because there's a lot of matte around the image.
Yeah. Yeah, and that mid-tone gray is a pretty nice choice because if you pick a black, you want to make sure that it's not blacker than the blackest black in your image. And if you pick a white, it's going to kind of,
Right.
in most cases, draw a lot of attention to itself. So that's a good choice for a matte color.
All right, very cool. Let's go on to the next image. And that is called Backcountry Serenity.
Oh, nice landscape here. Little time exposure here to get the water running beautifully. Gorgeous textures on this. Those rock textures are just to die for. The matting might be a little busy. I think with all those textures in the image, I might have gone for just a plain mat. Yep, I'm not using my tools here. The mat here with the texture in it, it kind of, when you add a texture upon texture, then it starts to get a little bit confusing or they fight with each other a little bit. And these textures in this scene are just so rich. And normally I'd be the first one to say, we're not having much detail in those blacks down at the bottom, but darn, I don't think you want detail in those blacks because it's the water kind of just oozing off to nothing there. And it gives us a really nice contrast between the way that water is coming down and going into that pool. But I'm so appreciative of those textures and the way this has been handled. We've got great depth of field. We're in focus from the front of the image way to the back. So somebody knows how to set their camera at a nice closed up f-stop of 22 or 32. Boy, and nice time of day too, because we're not getting super, super black contrast within the rocks. I mean, we're getting blacks in there, but there's so much that isn't blocked up that might be blocked up if the light were coming in from a sharper angle. So this is a really nice job of controlling the light and also using the time to the best kind of advantage that the person has. I think presentation wise, that's about my only downside on this one
The
would be it's
texture.
just, yeah, it's just a little over presented. But really enjoyable image.
Rick, you want to add
Down
anything?
your alley, Jeffy, go for it.
So I'm looking at, yeah, I have to agree that texture's a little bit much, and I'm guessing this is like flowers up here, so they're lighter, and then this dark hole back here, this little cave, and this little piece right here, just on the edge. It's kind of hard because you got a lot of texture and color or tones at the edge, but even these lighter colors along the edge of the image, even just this little guy right here, they just tend to pull your eye out there to this edge of the file. But man, what a nice triangle going on here. Allows their eye to wander, and then the lines that come back into it. Um, Even this line here kind of gives us a bit of a boundary to quickly look and go back into the scene. Um, Pretty cool. Rick, you want to add anything else?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said by both of my colleagues. What I really appreciate too is the use of threes.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
This odd number that just seems to work so well visually, in nature and in art, and but odd numbers just seem to be so much more fitting.
that's a
And I
great
would
point.
agree with the presentation as well.
Yeah, great point about the odd numbers.
Yeah. All right.
Nice.
Then we have Bueller. Bueller?
Whoa.
Oh my goodness. Bella, what do you think?
Wow. Interesting composition. Again, we just mentioned odd numbers, and here we have an even number, and I feel like there needs to be a little something extra in here to kind of balance it a little bit. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a really fascinating take on the bison here. I'm assuming that's a bison. I'm from Massachusetts, so I'm
Yes,
fairly ignorant about that.
you're right.
Um, and the tree back there has a very interesting treatment. I'm not sure if that's how the tree is supposed to look or if something's been going on there. Yeah, it looks like it's been solarized or something. It's a really interesting effect. I'm not sure. We've lost all the detail in the snow, so that's a kind of a an interesting thing to think about is how do you keep the texture in the snow? Just a little bit of something going on there to tell us what it is. I'm assuming it's snow because it's all white.
Yeah.
But we don't have like where the bison is standing. Let me click here. Oops. Where the bison is standing, we should have maybe a shadow there, something underneath it, or some kind of delineation that shows us something's going on there other than just going to pure white. So I
Yep.
think it may be a little more tonality in this, but again, it's a pretty interesting take. And the tree being fully centered like that, if you put a little more space to the left side and give that some space and get the tree more to one side rather than centering it, I think it would be a little more interesting and feel more balanced. Right now, the way it is, it just feels like we're lacking something on the right side to balance that. So,
Yeah,
it
kind of
looks,
heavy in this side. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Rick, what do you want to add?
Yeah, I think that we need to, or would consider maybe coming in quite a bit from the right, to the um, almost to the branches, because the weight of this whole image is to the left, and
mm,
there's a lot of real estate here that you have to wonder, is it adding anything truly to the image? And I totally agree with the cutoff. Yeah, maybe, it's snow and the bison's leg is into the snow, but there still should be some kind of a suggestion of um, a drop shadow or a contact shadow of some sort.
yeah,
Something more like that, you're thinking, guys?
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And even maybe extending the left a little bit farther to give that just a little breathing room. That
right,
could help too. But
right, right,
yeah, and see how much more balanced it feels even just doing that. Just having the tree in the middle makes you feel like, okay, there's got to be something on either side of it to balance it. So that's the downfall of centering your subject in a way.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think that probably for me, the thing is just like you're mentioning, the context shadows, just a little bit of, because we've lost a sense of space, sense of distance with all the white. I mean, not that we have to see the edge of the snow on the earth there, but just to have a little bit of a shadow here, a little bit of a shadow here, would just create it anchors the scene for us a little bit and gives it a sense of space, distance, relationship, um,
right.
Yeah.
and the whole story there. So good idea, though. I think it's something that we talked about too many images that you can still work with it. You can add some shadow, add a little bit of things there to bring that, just what we're talking about, bring that back
Yeah.
into um, those areas to give it something that's grounded is the word I keep coming back to. So, okay. Then we have, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Camerouge Stallion.
Ah, wow. And
Hmm.
we've got a nice sunset going on here. We don't have any kind of matting or presentation, um, which is not necessarily something you have to have all the time, but sometimes it's nice. We got a little subtitle down here. I think that might be the author
Yeah, I
or
think you're right.
maker. Um, the thing, we've got nice room lighting on the tail, but we kind of don't have any on the horse, which is interesting. Um, so I'm wondering why we don't. And we also don't have enough. The horse is pretty flat. See how there isn't any light on this side of the horse, making him dimensional? Got just a little shadow there, but the rest of the horse is pretty much the same tonality all the way through. So a little fill light there would have helped quite a bit. Or it's kind of difficult. I know with a horse, you can't really tell them to pose here or do that. Got a lot of extra space on the bottom that isn't really adding a lot to it. I like the
Oops.
shape of the horse. Yep, the horse ran away. I like the shape that the horse makes. It's very elegant, very majestic. looks really cool. And I like the position of the sun in relationship to the horse there. But I think the horse just needs more light on it. Um, there's nice color in that sky. Would like to see some of the horse's color as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And in addition, when we go into cleanup, as I kind of call it, we look at the right on the rear end, clean up
Oh,
the
yeah, I see there's a little, it's like a low sensor spot.
yeah, and
Yeah,
then
that's what I was doing. I just noticed there's a lot of sensor spots up here in the sky.
right,
Yep,
right.
yep.
I mean, it's a great sunset. Uh, was that the Broncos in Seattle or San Diego?
Yeah, it's a challenging time of day to shoot.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
and I'm just getting a uncomfortable feeling that um, the subject doesn't really go with the scene, and I don't mean should it be there, but in terms of lighting and just what you pointed out, Ella, the static lighting that really doesn't fill the horse. We've got highlights on the tail, but shouldn't there be a hint of highlights, around the horse at some point?
Yeah. Yeah, that's my question too, is why isn't the mane lit like the tail?
Well, I think when you have a soft material, almost a see-through transparent material, like the hair on a tail, you're going to see a little bit more of that as opposed to the rougher, harder edge of the horse itself. There
Yeah.
is a little bit of a backlit here along the leg and something, and I think this is just blocked. But yeah, I think if there was a little bit of a wraparound light,
Yeah.
Mm.
like
And shouldn't the light that is on the tail be a little bit of just a little bit of a warmer value? Because
should it or is it?
we're looking at all of this warmth in the sunset or sunrise, whatever it is. Um, I don't know. It just,
Hmm.
Well, we'll tell you, just from being out there and those times of the day, because I know Rick is already at dinner and ready for bed by sunset. And but those of you who've been out there with me, no, I think you do get more of the range of light when you get this low light level. You get the warms showing up and the cool colors, the other end of the spectrum showing up. But I think I would like to have seen maybe this blue taken out, take this down to a softer blue or a gray, a white gray. Um, just because it exaggerates the blue with having this complementary orange back
mm,
here. I think that would have not I won't say made up for, but if instead of having all the backlighting, the wraparound lighting like we talked about in the tail, I think the horse being a little bit more of a grayish white, I think would have helped that out a little bit too. So, all right. Let's see, where'd my pictures go? There we go. Now we have captivating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful model. She is gorgeous. Model against a tree. That's kind of a trope, which is
yeah.
something that's been happening for a very long time.
Since time
Yeah,
immemorial.
If there's a tree, there's a
exactly,
portrait, right? Yeah.
exactly. I think when I first started doing photography, I was putting people against trees too. So yeah.
Who
Um,
hasn't?
exactly. Yeah, she is absolutely gorgeous. Her face has very nice lighting, actually. We've got some, nice shadows over this side. We don't have flat lighting, which is really important to avoid to get that sculpting you want to see when you see a face. Her hair is beautiful. It's got the right amount, for me at least, the right amount of casual feel to go with her clothing. It's not super proper and super combed. She looks like she belongs in the scene. Um, there's a bit of a disconnect with the background because the colors in the background are a little bit more vivid than anything on her. like this area down here, right there, and up here are more saturated than anything aside from her lips and her eyes. So it's kind of pulling my attention away from the model. I think if the background, and there's also a texture, it looks like on there, almost like frosted glass kind of thing
Yep.
going on that isn't happening on her. So it seems like the background was maybe dropped in or somehow changed to look like that. Her eyes possibly, I'm not going to say they were definitely retouched, but they're very, very white. So be careful if you do retouch eyes that you don't make them too white. The whites of the eyes aren't really white white. They're, and they're spherical. You want to see the sphere. You want to see it darker at the edges where the eye goes shallow, goes narrow, and in towards the middle, towards the nose. That's going to be a spot where it's a little bit darker too. So if you brighten the eyes, don't lose that sphericalness of the eyes. Um, but really lovely portrait. I'm sure she was thrilled and loves it. And I'm all about faces that look like that. That is just an absolutely stunning girl to look at. The crop, I think I might not crop it just below the elbow. I might crop it just above the elbow. We don't want to amputate the lower parts of people if possible, but I do like that little bit of background that we're seeing through her arm and her side there because that tells us it slims her for one thing, and nobody wants to look fat. And it tells us, where she is delineated. It gives us her figure and makes it very flattering to her. So there's so many things that are well done about this. The only thing I'm really kind of knocking on just a little bit is the disconnect with the background there. And also the matte color is a little bit off. I don't see a blue like that in the background or anywhere in the image. So I would pick a color for within the image for the matting. But wow, what a face, and nice job handling that.
Rick, what do you want to add?
Absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful model, well lit, great connection the photographer has with the subject. I totally agree with the background. It almost has that back in the late 80s, 90s, a lot of the shower glass type of
Yeah,
Oh, that's
photographs
right.
you would take.
Yeah.
So just to add a couple things, right down here, if we don't crop above the elbow, then toning down this area. The tree could be toned down 100%, and I think that would be fine. I wouldn't even have a problem with just taking it out because the pose,
Yeah.
the posture stands by itself. And then we've got this uh, heavy circle in the background that I think can be taken care of. But beautiful, beautiful lighting, in my opinion.
Well
How,
said, guys. Thank you.
yeah. How lucky are they to have that model to work with?
Yeah, no kidding.
No kidding. All right. Oops. Got to get out of the tool. And then we have color her beautiful.
Ah, okay. We're getting into some play here with lights. Some gels maybe that are going on to lighter and different colors. It's an interesting technique. I'm not sure how successful. I think it's really dicey to color people in this way, color their skin, because we're so used to what we look like. We're so attuned that it really kind of throws us off when you have color like this that isn't quite explainable. I think we need it's a hard one because I think we need a reference point as to why she's these colors. She's out of context, in other words. So why is one part of her yellow? Why is one part of her red? Maybe see the lights that are actually are making these colors to bring context into this. Otherwise, we're kind of sitting here going, what's the reason that we're doing these colors? So, um, oh gosh, I forgot her name, but she's up in Maine and she did a whole series of women in different colors. The skin, however, was always skin colored, but the whole surrounding of her, one was bubble gum where she's blowing a bubble, it's a pink bubble and she's all in pink. And it was really, really successful. And they were a lot of fun. But she did leave the skin color, and everything around her was colored in a single color, bubble gum or lemon, or they all had like fruit names, that kind of thing, or food names. Um, the pose is very nice. There's the rule with women is basically if you can bend it, and we're seeing that right here. Her fingers are very graceful. We are losing her thumb. It would have been good to pull her thumb out and so that we saw it, so we're not wondering if she has one. Generally, it's nice to know that it's there. Um, the eyes look nice. We've got little tiny catch lights in there. We've got a bit of a bright spot up here on the forehead that's almost going too bright. It's kind of, we do want the light to sculpt her. And what's happening, all these lights I'm just noticing now, she's actually fairly flat lit. She's lit like a fashion model, and maybe that's what the person's going for here. But she's very flat lit. We're not seeing a lot of shadowing here because the lights are coming in different colors. You don't actually see that quite right away. And the only shadow I'm getting is the shadowing that's actually painted on her in makeup. So I think that's one thing to be aware of. We are getting shadows down here on her body, however. So that's kind of nice. So we must be getting light coming from, yeah, we're getting light coming from over in the right-hand side, but it must be pretty low to make those shadows on her collarbone like that. I
So
don't know, what do you
if
guys
this
think?
was an ad for makeup or clothing or something, you're saying it would have a little more, I don't want to say make more sense, but it would have more of a relation to why it's lit that way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think about your storytelling in this, and we're kind of left with a question of what the story is here because we don't have enough context to explain why she's the different colors.
Rick, what do you want to add?
Yeah, I've been looking at this from the aspect of more of a glamour slash commercial type image. Maybe, lipstick, makeup, whatever of different colors. Um, so I can kind of appreciate it from that point. But technically, as I look on her shoulder here, the mix of color has a bruise type of a look to it,
Yeah.
as does, this area here, bottom left of the shoulder in the lighting. We've got such beautiful soft lighting on the face, and I'm noticing, that we've got this highlight on the forehead camera right, but yet as I look at the catch light, it's coming from camera left.
Mm.
Uh, so, I get a little confused about that. And then, the light just creating these really sharp areas across the shoulder um, collarbones. But, commercially, as a glamour type of an image, I can see some application here.
Mm.
Okay, guys, good stuff.
Darn good stuff.
Darn good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, gorgeous makeup job.
Yes.
We now have Desert Sunset. Ooh, that's my first comment is ooh.
Well, go for it, ooh.
Okay. First of
Yeah.
all, this is just such a lovely time of day. That heavy air gives us the nice colors of the sun breaking through. The landscape is obviously very desert-like, but sometimes that's a hard one to photograph because it can look very barren. So this is giving it definitely some character with the colors, the deep shadows. I like the line from the here, I'm telling you guys to use the tools and I'm not. I like this line coming down here, brings us into the scene. Faint little line here of this hill keeps us look coming through here. I'm afraid that I feel like the light is a little bit too obvious. It
Yes.
it looks like it's been added. I mean, I can see that. Let me get rid of the drawings here. I can see where a band of light could, but this could be, I think, softer and maybe even spread out a little bit more. Um, Maybe more like this. This just, it could be wrong, but this feels like it's been manufactured a little bit too much. We kind of have the right feel down here, the flares of the light, but this just looks just a little bit too. And maker, please tell me if I'm wrong. But that's all I'm thinking. But the color, even the choice of matte, just very well done. Ella, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm wondering about the focus. I'm looking at the vegetation there and wondering if we've got it really focused. It could be the aspect of, time of day, like right here. I'm thinking those should be pretty clearly delineated, and I'm not seeing it. So I'm be careful of your focus, even in an atmospheric kind of thing. This is oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay. They are in focus.
Something
Excellent.
that we don't do in competition, but we will for this just to,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
I think
Great.
that illusion is the atmosphere because of the
it's
Yeah,
heavy air, yeah, so it's going
yeah,
to
yeah.
feel
And
hard.
this corner down here on the right, that's really dark. We're losing detail in that corner, I think. At least it looks like that. So I might lighten that up just a touch. The God ray, yeah, the God ray looks a little bit added. It just goes so far. I think it might stop a little bit before that, but that it could be what happened. I don't know. So,
Well,
but yeah,
the maker just commented the God ray was there, but I think maybe it's just
wow.
exaggerated
Yeah.
just a little bit. Um, it's because of the high contrast, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's very believable there. It just gets a little bit too much there. So just keep that in mind, maker.
Yeah. But really nice atmosphere that was created here. Presentation's nicely handled too.
It's kind of tough when you get these kind of scenes when you have this corner that's very deep shadow, because that obviously really is there being behind the rocks and such. So what do you do with that kind of a scene? I mean, I've gone in and tried to just locally lighten the area just enough, maybe to bring it back into even just like this area over here. So I don't have my little pen. So it's maybe even more into this kind of a feel over here
Yeah.
instead of just black. But that's a tough one because you can't crop it out. You don't want to crop it this way. If you crop it here, you lose this. We can't crop it up here because then you lose this. So that's a toughie. But you could go in and just soften it up just enough so it would have just the tiniest bit. I mean, even if you look into this corner here, there's just the tiniest bit of detail that I think would help carry that through.
Yeah.
Jeffy.
You could,
Think this. Go ahead, Ella.
oh, sorry. You could also, when you're out there doing these images, take a second or third shot and
Yeah,
expose it again
exactly.
for that area a little bit more so you can sandwich them together and kind of get those details back.
Exactly.
Yeah, Rick, sorry.
Well,
That's
you
okay.
had Rick. Yeah, see
Yeah.
that? Just to say, look at the nice detail. Come
Yeah.
on.
Couple things.
Oh,
We see these little highlights here and here and here, just kind of taking them out. But, we're going to do it every time we have an episode. Is this a candidate for a black and white conversion?
Yeah.
I've been trying to hold off on that, but hey, that's my go-to. Let's just see. And everybody at the same time. Ooh.
No. I
Um,
kind I kind of like the color.
well, there's another thing too that I think is let me do this. I've got a black and white layer on here, but let's just play with the opacity of the black and white layer and maybe come back to something like
Yeah,
with
there
this.
you go. Yeah.
It's got a little bit more. It's got that sunset feel to it, but it's got the different mood, the different kind of a piece.
And it's more of a nostalgic kind of a
Yeah, the old
1920s,
West kind of a thing.
1920s
I
type
I
thing.
was just gonna say it could be an Edward Curtis photo from the 1800s
There you
that
go.
you're looking at. Yep.
So we just need a rider and a horse standing right. Oh, so I don't have my pen.
Yep, exactly.
Rider and a horse standing right. I'm going to draw a horse now. Sorry, John.
Yeah, stick to photography.
Okay. Okay. Actually, it's interesting that you say that, Elle, about Edward Curtis, because we just did an interview with John and Colleen, good friends of ours, who John Curtis is John's great grandfather.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, and we have a two-part episode on our site of an interview with him and the portraits he's been doing that he emulated from Curtis himself. So very cool.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Look at some of those old photos. The tonality is just to
Oh,
die
beautiful.
for.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful.
Okay. Good stuff. We have early spring morning. That's the kind of places I like to go.
Oh yeah. Look
Ella,
at
what do you
that.
think?
Wow. Yeah, beautiful scene here and nice exposure, nice time of day. They did a nice job of giving it a long exposure, so we've got the sky kind of moving and blurring. That's a nice effect. We've got, and it's really kind of cool back here. Oops, sorry, where you've got this fog coming in behind the mountain. I think if it were me, I'd kind of like to see it cropped, maybe crop this off and give us a little more space over here so that you're not centering this butte or whatever you call it. It's not a mesa, but I think it's a butte. So something like that. So we're not plunking it right smack in the middle of the frame. Um
Rubbing it in.
yeah, something more like that. But the color harmony in this is really nice. I'm really appreciating those greens down here that kind of continue on with that, the golds and stuff, it gives us a little contrast. And we've got the reds back here as well. So nicely visualized here. Um, Makes me want to come out and visit the West again real soon.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's cool. And I mean, this mountain is beautiful, but this is not being the primary piece. I think this crop gives us that depth, gives us that, I mean, it kind of emulates the shape. If that little rock in there gives us the peak of this. So it's a nice repetition of pattern, but it really allows this piece to stand out more so than
Mm.
the rest of it. And I'm wondering too, since we're talking about cropping, I don't know if we, I don't know, we kind of lose our depth.
Yeah.
I guess I take that back, Maker.
Yeah, sometimes we have to play with them a little bit to know what we want, don't we?
Well, exactly, because I mean, I'll go in and say, okay, let's see, what does this crop look like here?
Yep. Yep.
Ricky, what do you want to add?
Can you take it back to the full image,
Well, sure,
if you would, just for me?
just for you. Oops, get back to my history palette is
I
disappeared on
really
me.
enjoy the lighting on the
Mm.
mountain background.
All right, hang on, my history palette is gone for a walk.
These are the things you encounter with live.
This does not happen when I'm sitting there all by myself.
Yep. Window. Yep. You want to go to window and then
Oh,
just
I have
up. They're
my
alphabetical.
camera is in front of that.
Ah, okay. One down.
That's what's so
There
funny.
you go.
The camera's right in front of that list. Okay. What is the problem here? Okay, this is what happens. Oh, there it is. It buried itself. There we go. I'm sorry, it was behind the Zoom message thing. Okay, there we go.
No sweat. I just wanted to make a comment. I think what you guys said is are really good comments. And we've talked about this before. We're going to talk about it tonight, and we'll talk about it in the future as far as key lines. We've got this key line that's attached to the image that we see obviously in certain areas. But
Mhm.
then as we go around the image, we tend to lose it, especially as I remember on the left side where it kind of fades in to the
Down
image,
here.
and especially, yeah, and especially on the bottom, horizontally on the bottom, we lose it in a lot of places. So, key lines like the mat are meant to enhance the image. So we either attach it as it is, but pick a different color value we can see all the way around the image, or detach it, which in this case you could probably use the same color, but allow space from the image to the key line to separate the image from the mat. So, sounds
So
like
it
nitpicking
come
and
in like here.
yeah, yeah. Are you seeing my tool with drawing the line on the
I
bottom?
did, but I'm not.
Top
Okay, now
right?
I am. I did, but I didn't. But now I see it. Yeah, it's funny. It's not popping up. Now
Yeah.
it's you're the orange.
Yeah. But man, that sky is rendered really beautifully.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Lots of
It
great movement, good color tones.
But anyway, that's all I have to say, and I'm sticking to it.
is.
Okay. So next we have an image called Foxy. Hmm.
Ah, cool. Yeah, let's zoom in on that just a bit. Nice, nice. Wow. Yeah, you got some nice lighting there on the fox. Got some nice, nice bright side of the face, and the other side's a nice shadow. The tail looks beautiful. The fox is again dead center in the frame. We've got some, you know, distractions here, which I know so hard to get rid of those because they're not going to come out in the open and get out of the way of all that brush and stuff. But those kind of distractions, especially over here at the edge, yeah, those are kind of getting in your way a little bit.
Mhm.
Boy, the fox is so cool, but all those distractions are kind of hard to get rid of in reality and photographically right there. That
Right.
line right there kind of stops you coming into the frame. All of these are a little bit distracting. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with this one. You've got good depth of field on the Fox. I don't know, how about a deeper depth of field, but then that's going to bring all this stuff in and that's going to be super distracting. You've got
Yeah.
a really black area here too that drops off to nothing. So yeah, this is like impossible to shoot because this is their natural habitat. You're not going to get them in this situation without some kind of distraction unless the fox poses for you in the right spot. So yeah,
Let me throw this question at you two guys. I would say this is definitely, we have this conversation every week, but just want to get your opinion on it. This is the kind of question you have to ask yourself when you're submitting something for competition. Would you agree? Because
yeah,
I've seen this kind of a thing on a calendar website for a retreat or something that is fine, but when you go PPA competition,
yeah,
would you agree it's probably a bad thing to have in there?
Yeah,
yeah,
in my
it's
opinion, you just have to make the decision between exactly what you're saying. Man, this would be really great to promote my poster business, my wall art business, my calendar. It would look really great, but we have to come to that discernment. Is it gonna cut it in competition? And
yeah,
what can I do to get it there? And sometimes it is what it is, and we just have to appreciate what we have there. I'm kind of concerned about the color um, uh, value. Everything is so very, very cool, and I understand, it's not late or early light, but I don't know if we couldn't warm it up a little bit, if that wouldn't help it out, from that point of view. But uh,
right.
there's so much going on, especially in the lower left quadrant that's the out of focus. It really demands a lot of attention.
Jeff, can we zoom in on just the face
Sure
and the
can.
head and shoulders?
Let me do this.
I'm just wondering if there's resolution enough to kind of work with just that area.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, it looks that we're a little blown out right in here. But
Yeah.
I think, if you could come down, oh, that poor animal, look at all the
All the birds and
scratches,
stuff. Yeah.
ticks.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, yeah. But seriously, I mean the face is really nice, and I think depending on whether or not you can get back the detail in where those areas are kind of blown out a bit, that might be kind of cool to think about zooming in just on the face and seeing what you can do with that.
And again, this might be because this is a JPEG for this competition. The original raw
Right,
file or even the TIFF could be, enough detail to do that.
right. Yeah,
Just
because you don't have all those distractions if you come in like in this area.
right.
Yeah,
Awfully cute face, huh? Whoops.
very.
All right, good stuff. We have uh I remember that day clearly.
Ah,
So nice
really? Yeah, that's a great title for this.
story. Yeah.
Really brings you right into the storytelling on this. Um, I'm wondering if there's a story about why we've got that kind of pattern there, if that's part of the uniform, because it's a little distracting to have that really wild pattern on his tie. So if I were retouching this, either I would figure out if there's a way to kind of clue in the audience about why that tie is patterned, or I would tone down that pattern a great deal so that we don't have so much contrast in it. The hand detail is very nicely handled. We're a little bright here. We could tone that cheek down a little bit. That would be great. But and I think the vignetting here, if you've done that in post, I wouldn't do it quite so much. It's starting to break up. See it in this area right in here, it's kind of getting broken up.
Oh yeah,
But
I see what you're
it's,
saying.
yeah, it's a nice idea, the vignetting, but it's a little overdone, I think. So, um, but yeah, I mean, it's great storytelling. The light pattern is really good. We've just got a little extra brightness there that needs to come down. We've got a nice separation on the shoulder there. We've got separation there from the background, which is good. We could use a little more separation up here where the hat is. So it's kind of blending right into the background right now, which, you want that. You want it to be separate from the background. You don't want it to just blend right in.
Right.
So, but great storytelling.
Rick, what do you want to add?
Wow.
That's enough said right there. Wow.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
only thing I would suggest in terms of the presentation, we have um, uh, a broader top and bottom than the sides. I would just make it a true square. Um, there's a lot of real estate up there, and again, we come to the question: is it adding or taking away? But just for grins, um, Jeff, if you could crop in above his right about mid forehead and down to about the cuff of his shirt, and then come in from the left and right, kind of a slim. Well, here, let me
Say it
kind
again.
of
Come in from.
a guide here. Something like I'm just
Oh,
Oh,
I got you that tight. Okay. Inside the ear.
yeah,
As I moved it, I lost
and just pull him in because I'm kind of mid forehead.
you. Hang on, I'm gonna get rid of your little orange.
Yeah,
Like that, more or less, one way or the
something
other.
along that line. I mean, I don't know. There's, you know, yeah, and the emblem on his beret is nice, but and maybe allowing a little more, just a tad more to the right, not coming in, but going out to the right, just a little.
Something weird going on here. Again,
Yeah,
as
that's a little
usual,
too much, but
I'm
anyway,
losing.
I don't know. Man, there's just so much intensity to this image.
Just go back here.
But I do like the kicker light on the right and just really exquisite lighting.
Mm.
It looks like he's in civvies. It's probably why his tie
Yeah, I
not
think so too. It's
uniform.
just a regular suit and
Yeah, that's what a tie
beret,
is. Have
you
in
know.
it.
Nice.
Wonderful story though, isn't it?
Oh,
It
Absolutely.
yeah.
is very, very nice.
Okay. Then we have Beauty in the Bayou.
Ah, I believe I've seen this one before in MIR possibly. So yeah, wow, a lot of great textures here. Again, we have the main subject kind of centered. So I would probably,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Off
I'd
center.
crop the left side and maybe flip it because that left side goes so dark. What do you guys think? Crop left or right to get it off center?
Actually, I was pulling in from the right.
Yeah, because I'm thinking the right's so bright that darkness and the contrast on the left might be better to keep
Yeah.
that.
I'm kind of thinking the matte could be a little different value as well. It's
Yeah,
Lighter or darker?
darker.
yep. Yeah, I might even come in closer than that on the right, but or do generative fill on the left and fill in some more stuff. We've got so many tools these days.
Don't we?
We sure do.
Yeah, there's wonderful textures here in the tree and the I like that this tree is a little brighter than the background, so it shows its unique
Yeah,
Yeah,
and adds
uniqueness amongst
depth
all
to
the
the image.
like, yeah.
yeah. I like how we're getting that. All these that almost look like skirts in the bottom of the trees where they're all coming
Oh,
out like
yeah,
that. You
yeah.
might play, rather than Beauty on the Bayou, you might kind of play with ideas about, looking at the shapes and what they evoke for different feelings. Like to me, this almost looks like a bunch of dancers on a stage. So
Oh
use
yeah.
your imagination and kind of,
Hmm.
you know, don't think so literally maybe about your
Right,
titles.
right. Yeah,
That's a
that's always a good point that I try and make to
pretty
people.
good.
Is don't be too, you don't have to necessarily say, here's a tree, you know,
Right. Right. Yeah.
create the dreamscape or the,
Yeah. Yeah, their titles are a great way to open a door for the viewer to tell them what kind of a room they're going to see. So it sets a mood and it gives them an expectation and it allows you to kind of control things a little bit more. So you should take advantage of that.
yeah, good point. Good point. Rick, anything else you want to add?
No, no. I just mentioned the value of the matte, I think could be
Well, yeah,
brought
you said that. Are you thinking lighter or
Yeah.
darker?
darker.
Darker, yeah.
I mean, if you were to go lighter, then I would go into the fine art type presentation of 10 or 20% less
Bring
than
into this, yeah.
white. Yeah,
Bring into this tone like down
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm seeing a line up here. Do you guys see that? Right, right up
On the
there?
mat or on the
Yeah, on the mat.
I do see it now. Is this a very just a little bit of a darker?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I can zoom in and see.
I don't know if it was there or that's just a screen anomaly going on. It doesn't look like it's there now.
Huh.
Huh, interesting.
Oh, I'm going to
This is-
use that, Ella. Screen anomaly. Like
Yes, there you
that.
go.
Rick, that makes you sound like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Too funny.
I know.
Okay, so we now have Jumpstart the Day.
Ah,
So this would be
somebody's
artist
playing with their
category.
digital art skills.
Yeah.
Check that out.
What a great
Nice.
story.
Nice. Yeah, nice job of painting here. What a nice composition. Again, we've got, as Rick said earlier, we've got the three pieces here that create a really nice triangle. So that's a great choice on that. There we go. Um, and you've got style that's all very consistent, which is excellent. You know, unlike when we looked at the girl in the tree, we had kind of disparate styles. Styles didn't quite connect, but
Right.
in here everything connects really nicely. One of the things that I'm wondering about is it looks like right in here where the leg is attached and how the legs bend doesn't quite look to me lifelike. It looks like there's something anatomically not quite right there. And the shadow here, right there, is too warm. The shadows get cooler as they get darker, so that this doesn't translate at first look as a shadow. It looks like the fur's getting darker rather than it being a shadow. So you've just got to be careful of the fact that shadows change color. They change the color of the subject. Um, yeah, I'm wondering too about would there be a reflection down here of the fox in the water? Um, he's jumping and we've got the back legs hidden so we can't see a shadow. That's something to really watch. Looks like there's a little maybe shadow down here. Oops. Yeah, I've got to draw it. I can't just put my cursor in front of it. Yeah, we can learn. And we've got this little bright spot down here. I would probably We've got a few of those. I might take those out so that they're not a distraction. So, but nice technique. This person's on their way to being a pretty good painter in Photoshop, I would say, and that I'm being very, very modest. I think they can be very good if they keep going. So,
Yeah, because
yeah,
that's a tough thing to accomplish, that's for sure, to make it lifelike and have it be painted.
yep, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, nice light in the eyes. They've kept the detail that should be kept. Yeah, my only thing is, those little tiny things on the fox that just don't quite ring true anatomically. Just sometimes we think we know what something looks like, but you have to really look at something and dispense with what you think you're seeing, and what you really see is what you should draw. So turn it upside down and draw it that way. And sometimes that will help you or
That's good
paint.
advice. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it takes your expectation out of it, puts it into more of abstract, and then you just draw what you see rather than drawing what you expect to see.
That's a good point. We use that thought all the time with flip your image upside down just to look at
Right.
things that are popping out that maybe are catching your attention you don't realize, but that's the same way for this. That's really good stuff. Rick, what do you want to add? Anything?
Oh, I really enjoy the color harmony of this image. Composition is handled well. We've got the fox in that PowerPoint bottom right and the birds up in the top left. I like to call it diagonally opposed composition, where you have, the main subject is supported by a secondary subject diagonally. It's just, to me, a very, very strong composition.
I agree with everything. Well said. Beautiful composition, beautiful story. Lots of movement. Even just look at the lines of the flowers, how they're kind of keeping us into the scene. Even this little bit of the edge of the creek, it's a comfortable framing of the fox here to keep us in. The tree lines just enough to stop us from getting lost, and yet there's something interesting back there for the birds to fly to, but we come back to the scene. So it's everything about it, just the textures and colors of the sky, very well handled.
Yeah, I think image competition and critiques, I would not be anywhere near what I am without them.
Right.
And it's been amazing because I was a photographer a long time before PPA. and climbing in and doing and getting involved in the competition and PPA, just everything took off. It was amazing, the
Makes a
difference.
big difference, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And even going from my MFA, having that experience and being used to being critiqued and critiquing, huge help for my MFA. So,
Well, and I think that's the hard part. Both Rick and I grew up in the business, so we had that introduction with our fathers
yeah,
to image competition, and I think it was a, we'll call it a breaking in kind of a thing. Because I know I know I have several friends that we encouraged to get them in. They entered a print, and the first judging that they ran into was somebody who said, "Yeah, I don't know why I'd enter that. That's not very good." And you know that that kind of stuff doesn't really happen that much anymore. There used
yeah.
to be a little lesser amount of watching and listening to the rules, and some comments were a little rough. But they, two or three of my friends, it's just they won't enter an image to save their lives, and
Oh,
it's too bad because, like you said, it's
That's
been
a
a
shame.
wonderful learning experience
Yeah.
it
all along.
is. Yeah, watching it is hugely helpful, but also participating. It's the fastest way to learn, fastest way to grow, I swear.
Yeah. And that's why we're this little program we're projecting to do in January, where we actually will have all of the viewers be the jurors and throw their information, their thoughts and comments, and have conversations about it. I think is going to be something that can be really helpful to get you just to look at it from a different point of view. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you learn a lot by critiquing as well as
yeah, as
Sure.
by
being
being critiqued.
yeah. We have Lily in the Rain.
Ah, look at those colors.
Mm.
Wow, a lot of color in there. Flowers. Oh, we see so many flowers in competition and image, any kind of image event. Um, One of the things that a flower kind of has to do is be perfect or not. Think of a flower as you would a person. The people that we really want to see photographed are either perfectly beautiful or have a lot of character, a lot of wrinkles,
Right.
like the man that we just saw with the I don't know, uniform hat, the
The
beret.
Bray.
Yeah, the beret. What great character he had. He was a great subject. Well, this flower is kind of in between those two. It's not perfect. We have kind of the petals are kind of going off and they're a little squeezed here and there. Um, but it doesn't have the character of like the old grizzled guy either, or like the one that won the Gia this year, the lovely African American woman
Oh
in the
yeah,
bus.
the bus. Yeah.
Wonderful character in that face. So that's a hard thing about flowers is we see so many where they've been photographed so much. We want them to either be exquisite or have so much character that they really kind of tell a story about aging and what's going on. They kind of speak to us as that. So this sits in the middle in between that. So in that way, I'm trying to say very nicely, great effort, but it doesn't quite hit that mark on either end. You've got great focus. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, don't be afraid to cut into a flower and give us a story. Give us something that's
Right,
not
right.
something we normally see. Just create something that's a little more abstract of it just has
That's a
such a
great
different
crop.
appearance, uh,
Yeah,
the viewer.
much better. And then like watch out for these little guys that are in the way, that little spot that isn't quite in focus.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and remember you can focus stack flowers too to get everything in focus because we're going way out of focus in here. And that's the decision to make. Do you want that to be in focus? Do you want that to not? Hey, can you turn this one black and white?
Just thinking the same thing.
Let's see what that does for it.
Certainly can.
So I think those colors are almost in the way of appreciating the form of this.
So we can kind of push it to the extreme,
Yeah.
really bring out some of the. Nope, that's too
And it
extreme.
also kind of tells us that this stuff in here isn't working all that well. The focus in there is so off, or it's just kind of blurring in. For some reason, it's just not quite working. But yeah, that's much more interesting to me to see it like this rather than the whole thing, because this part of the flowers is really kind of nice. But again, this area down here, watch that stuff, those little distractions.
Yeah, just something like that. It's just, and again, it's it's like when you photograph a tree, you don't have to necessarily get the full trunk and the top of the tree. You can do a section of it, you can do a slice of it. Same with flowers. Pick out some really different, unique points of view, elements of the flower, things like that that just really tell a different story. As pretty as this flower picture is by itself, it is definitely got a lot to look at. And when we take and zoom in and do something like this, um, we just have a little more of a unique perspective for what it's worth.
Mhm.
Rick, what do you want to add to that?
It's so interesting what both of you have talked about as far as
Well,
see-
yeah,
seeing the image and then coming in. And, you think, wow, yeah, there's a part of that landscape that I could zero in on and crop in on, or this flower that I could come in on. And isn't that what we just talked about with that gentleman with the beret,
yeah,
cropping in real tight, seeing that photograph within that photograph?
Yeah.
yeah. That's a trick, and that's really something you have to kind of. I think you have to kind of learn. You have to kind of teach yourself, and that goes back to me, even back to standing in the environment to see beyond the obvious, to see beyond that obvious horizon, sunset, whatever, to see bits and pieces of a scene. That's why I love shooting with a longer lens and landscape is because I'm starting to pick apart the big glorious landscape is nice, but when you get mountains and you make a print out of the mountains are tiny little things to pick apart part of that and just really concentrate on certain lines and stories, I think that just really gives us a unique perspective on the work.
I think what's happening with the green and the reds, it looks to me like it's been oversaturated, like
Yep.
somebody's played up the color, and that's why we're losing the fidelity in those greens right in that area.
Yeah, good
Totally
point.
agree.
Yeah.
Good point. And black and white always works for me, so
Yeah. Yeah. Black and white's a classic for a reason.
that's right. All right, good work. We now have Old Jewish Cemetery in Prague.
Okay. Again, this is all about the textures. Nice textures. It's right again here we've got really blocked up blacks there and there and there. And those are going to pull us into those areas and kind of bring us into an abyss photographically. You've also got those fighting with these windows up here they're screaming for our attention because they're very contrasty. That it's a higher area of contrast because you've got the bright right next to it, the bright areas up here that are making it very contrasty. So and up here we've got a really bright corner as well that are pulling our attention away from this. So there's a lot of fighting here visually, a lot of push and pull as to what's going on. Um, I think it should have been photographed from maybe a different angle with a different lens, possibly. And I know you can't go back to Prague tomorrow and redo this, but sorry about that. But I do appreciate very much the texture that's down here. I'm wondering if maybe you've got another image that's from a slightly different vantage point or something where we don't have quite so much going on as far as the distractions. Um, see we've got this texture up in the corner up in the left hand corner as well. There's another texture that's completely different than these very stony, very touchable toothy textures that we have. That one's more like a round marbly texture. So we've got so much going on here. What about cropping in, Jeff, towards just that I don't even know if we can crop into just that gravestone, the main subject there.
Well, I think we got a
Yeah.
subject here that I think you could even come into it and it would still hold its
Yeah,
worth.
even that helps quite a bit.
maybe even just like bringing it in. And then I would lighten this dark,
Yeah. Yeah.
like you talked about here, to kind of keep it from going deep. But this really brings us into, there's no question as to what we want you to look at as the viewer, is this texture and these fine lines and that sort of thing. And then again, just lightening this a little bit, darkening those top corners a little bit. I think you might have something that's a little bit more of an art piece that
Exactly.
doesn't it's confusing the when we first look at it in the terms of the whole image. There's so much going on that it's like I don't know, what do I look at? And if we can flip this, when you look at something this way upside down, this takes your eye off of the obvious and makes your feelings, your thoughts, your knowledge kind of look for something. And if you look at something like this after you've flipped it and you can't quite come up with what I want to look at, I think it says a lot to, oh gosh, well, there's so much going on, the things you pointed out. Again, we're talking, more of this PPA competition kind of thing. It's a great image for recording from the trip you were on, and so on like that. But to take it to a competition, you got to give some visual direction to the viewers, the judges, to know what you want them to look at and what you want them to basically score you on. So,
Yeah.
anything else, Ricky?
No, you guys did it.
We did it. We did it. Okay. How about out for a ride with our Eagles?
Ah,
Give us a little bit of size here. Whoops.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
Right
like
action.
the guy on the left looks like the guy that was sitting in that scene earlier that we saw with all the tapestries around him.
Gosh, I think you're right.
Yeah,
Good
kind of,
eye.
yeah. Yeah, really dynamic stuff going on here. Good story, capture those birds in those positions, all three of them at the same time. That's a nice capture. Um, you've got some space on the right here. What if we flip this so that we have more space on the left than the right? Yeah, to me that it feels awkward because they're doing it with their left hands, and I'm sure they'd be doing it with their right. But see how it feels a little better because you get space. We on the left on this hemisphere come in, we read left to right. So we come into the image from the left and come across the image. So generally you want to have more space. If you're putting space on something, oftentimes it's on the left-hand side so that we lead into the subject and appreciate the whole image rather than leading in from the left and hitting the subject, and then we've got kind of a wasteland on the right that we never get to. So that's kind of the theory behind putting your PowerPoint or your subject, your focal point more to the left a lot of times. If you put it to the right, it creates more tension. And these guys are happy, joyful, riding like crazy. They feel like they're flying. The birds are almost flying. So it's not a tense kind of a scene. But yeah, it looks like we've got good focus. We've got a lot of dynamic stuff going on here, good storytelling, and these three guys are just having a blast. You can tell. I like the dust coming up from the bottom as well. So
Yeah, just that little flip makes a big difference, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah, it does.
I mean, this is not bad, but this is just a little bit more inviting to let you into the scene to understand what's going on.
And sometimes just a little bit makes a big
Yeah.
difference.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
It does.
Rick,
And
thoughts?
Yeah, I I just love cultural type of images, and this has it all. It talks about the control that these writers have over these birds, and we all are familiar, I'm sure, with how that they train them, and they're proud of what they've done and their heritage. Um, it beautifully done. And I'm all for flipping, but we got to be careful because, for instance, the one in the middle, if you have telltale signs like letters or, numbers or whatever when we flip, because that Carhartt emblem on his vest is a giveaway. I'm just kidding.
I'm looking for it and I can't find it.
I'll tell you what made me give it away. Like Rick knows what Carhartt is. Well, I'll tell you though, I judged recently for a state, not to pick, I'm not trying to make fun of somebody, but somebody had flipped an image that had some obvious words on the device that was flipped, and it was like, no, that doesn't work. So if you can flip it and it's not obvious, go for it. But you have to watch what's there and see. But yeah, the Carhartt logo, that would definitely stand out. Oh my goodness.
Our viewers know we're having fun
Yep,
and
yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah,
Yeah, hopefully nobody takes it personally.
yeah.
I mean, just
yeah.
because we like a different brand of winterwear.
And Ella and Jeff, we're a lot looser than we would be on a panel, PPA
Oh,
panel.
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's very formal. I believe this one was in the November MIR, actually. I think I just saw it last week.
This one
I
here.
I saw a version of this. It was an individual. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Very cool. We now have peaceful tenderness. You're gonna like this one.
Oh,
What a nice story this is. I like this kind of stuff.
absolutely.
Nothing like leading us, huh, Jeffy? Oh, you're gonna like this one.
Yeah,
Well, since we're not scoring, I'm gonna do that.
yeah, absolutely. Look at the interaction between those two animals. That's a great story. That's the one leaning into the others,
Right.
the beautiful light in the eyes, and absolutely great focus. And the lighting on this is so soft and beautiful. And we can see every detail of that fur and those horns. And like I said, those eyes just bring you right in there. Really nicely done.
Mhm.
Um, I'm gonna nitpick
That's
just a
okay.
little bit right there. I would
Yeah.
just retouch that. Why have that imperfection when everything else is so close to perfect? Look for those little things. When I enter an image, I'm like zoomed way into where it almost breaks up into little squares and
Right.
going through and making sure I don't have anything like that, no sensor spots, things like that. But I mean, that's super nitpicky. This is super, super nice. And what really cool storytelling. Nice presentation as well. Brings us right into those two guys. I think this side maybe, yeah, I gotta draw it. You can't see my cursor.
Yeah.
This side might be just a touch light. I might darken that down just a hair.
Yeah.
But boy, nice work.
Yeah, I might suggest the same thing on again, this is real nitpicky, and I'll tell you why I'm saying this. This area too could be a little bit deeper. This could be a little deeper, and I would even tone this down. And it goes back to the years when I was learning from my dad, and I would look at that and go, "Really? What's the big deal?" He says, "We're talking points." Of course, this was back in the days we were talking, 65 to 100 points.
Yep.
What's the difference between an 89 and a 91 or a 92 and a 98 is
Yeah.
those little, because you want to, being a judge, a juror, being human, we tend to, as nice as an image is, as impactful, great stories, all those things, we still will look for, oh, well, there's that little hair right there, or and I'm even looking at, I don't know if that any of that bothers you, natural, but that little horn, the tip of the horn, but it's little things like that when you've solved the rest of the problems, exposure, composition, those other things, we look for those little tiny things that if they could be this, if they could be this, well, it's pushing your score up. It's pushing it up into that. Now we don't have the points, but it's pushing it up into that loan, and it's still going to be loan category as far as I'm concerned. The
Yeah.
what is it called now? The imaging.
Imaging excellence.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
agree. I still call it lone half the time.
yeah, yeah. That word is set there for permanently. But those are the little things
And
that.
and what are they calling it now?
Imaging excellence. Yeah. And even like this little white area right here, I might
Yeah.
I know it's natural again, but I might get rid of that. So,
Well, if you leave something in there that could be a conversation for a judge,
Yeah.
it could go the wrong way, even though it
Yeah.
could maybe be explained. If you have, if a juror looks at it and goes, "So what is this?" And even if there's a logical reason for something, it all of a sudden might be worth you've lost a point or two. So don't give them the, as my dad used to say, don't give them the fodder for their cannon to fire shots at your image. Just we know the word perfect doesn't exist. 100's not perfect. 100 is just the top of that category. But anything you can do to take it closer to the top of that category, that's what we're talking about. So
Yeah.
nitpicky, call it that, but it's also just fine tuning. And what's cool about that, guys, and this is what I've learned, I know Rick and I've talked about this, is that as you do those kind of things, it becomes automatic. So when you're looking at even a client's image or something that you're not going to do competition, you're doing those little things. You're toning those little areas down. You're making those little things work because it makes the image, say it with me now, more better. Okay,
Yep.
moving
Yep.
along.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and we're, as judges, we want to see those really great images
Oh
where
yeah.
everything is taken care of. We're rooting for you guys, actually.
Oh,
We're not
absolutely.
we're not looking to disparage anybody. We want to see great images when we're judging. That's what makes it fun.
How many times have we heard the charge, or when we're at least when we're sitting there waiting for the judging to start, where the jury chair will say, "Well, let's give our makers the benefit of the doubt. Let's coach them into giving them the good scores and the high scores, and kind of leaning their direction." So it's not about trying to trash somebody. It's not about trying to make it bad. Um, we'll let you make it bad for yourself. How's that? Then we have pondering the past.
Again, great storytelling here.
Isn't
Look at
it?
that. Yeah. This is one I would definitely go black and white on this one. Because we've got the bluish purple sweater, we've got the orangey light coming in, we've got the daylight coming in. Um, yeah, and maybe crop out the piano in the background's gone so black. If there's detail to be had in that, I'd pull it out. But yeah, that's boy, that is really black there. And I know pianos can be black, but
Yeah, let me go for a
yeah, the lower end of
get
the
a level layer going up here.
yeah. I see how much less distracting her sweater is that way, and we're
Yeah.
kind of looking more at her face. What if we just really crop in on her? I kind of like the environment she's in, but it does get awfully distracting.
So you're talking about getting rid of the tree and the lamp altogether?
Yeah, yeah, I'm thinking, let's see what that does. Because that's your story. The environment can be awfully wonderful to include, but on the other hand, when it becomes so busy, we could take out that post for the lamp too pretty easily in Photoshop these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's your story right there. Everything else is superfluous. It doesn't really need to be there to tell us who this person is. If you're looking at this 10, 20 years in the future, all that stuff is window dressing where this is what you really want to see. So,
Yeah, that's the story right there is her and her face and the hand to the eyes and the whatever she's thinking while she's reading this story here.
yeah, the contrast is pretty harsh on this one. If you're looking I got like right in here, those shadows are going so black. And see how it's kind of even breaking up right in there a little bit? I think maybe the contrast was pushed on this a little hard. Or maybe we needed just a little more fill light to kind of bring those shadows up a bit. And right in here too, we've got super dark shadows. And this we could just get rid of in Photoshop pretty easily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like you said, get rid of the lamppost. I'd even get rid of this little lacy part of
yeah,
her. This
Yeah,
drapery works.
that's what I was thinking
Yeah,
too.
this drapery works okay here. I'd maybe soften that shadow too, but get rid of that. The
yeah.
lamp.
You
And
think it would crop in a little more from the right to get rid of that black edge there?
could do, yeah, I kind of will get rid of this and maybe just bring it into the chair like that.
Yeah.
We could do this.
Yeah.
I kind of like the height back there. Gives it just a little bit of, but still get rid of the lamp, the shadow, and the
Yep.
frilly curtain there. It gives us really zeroes in on the story, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is a good case for some very judicious dodging and burning.
What do you guys think about going into a painting of this?
I like that idea a lot. I think this would make a really nice painting. In which case you could leave the whole environment and really deal with, all the shadows and stuff and kind of play with focus that way, kind of abstract the background just a little bit.
Yeah, you could play down all these sharper edges of the lamp and the curtains with the painting. Give
Yeah.
yourself a
Yeah.
little lighter color and some strokes in the wood of the piano, and I think that might be good idea, Rick.
Yeah.
I'm glad we had you show up tonight for some reason.
Well, I was just walking around
He
Yeah.
was he was heading to the mall and we stopped him.
yeah, someone said, "Do you mind joining us?"
Oh my gosh. Very cool. Okay.
Nice.
Then we have an image called Pretty in Paper.
Oh, look at that.
That's cool.
That is very cool.
I like it.
I do too. I think we need maybe just a little more density in there. Her skin looks so white, but maybe that's the makeup. Maybe that's intentional.
So let me zoom in and let's look at the makeup kind of has that feeling of it being I
What
Yeah,
what's the title, Jeffy, again?
pretty in paper.
Pretty in
pretty
paper.
in paper.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
So
I
I
think,
don't know, is it playing on is this skirt
Right.
paper
oh
or is these
yeah,
wings that look like a butterfly wing or something? Is this maybe paper? Is
yeah.
it is the tail? Yeah, oops. I know, hold on. The tail looks like it's maybe paper and so yeah,
Oh yeah, okay.
it's
Very
very
interesting.
cool theme piece.
It is. The only thing, I mean, I can definitely go with the makeup. It's almost like geisha makeup on her body
Yeah,
even.
yeah.
The one thing is she's a little floaty, so I would add a shadow,
Yes.
a little more
Oh yeah,
shadow.
good point.
Yes. Yes.
Just
The
to
rest
ground
of
it a
it's
little bit.
she's, and I don't know if there's any where it's paper, there may not be any texture there, but it's very absolute white there.
On the
So
dress.
yeah, there doesn't seem to be any detail there, but it could be because it's paper
Yeah,
too.
true.
Yeah.
So is that a word we can add to our dictionary there, Ella? Floaty?
Yeah, floaty. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, she needs a little grounding there, but other than that, I think that's a really cool piece. Um,
Well, someone from your area, right, Ella?
I don't know
Ken
who it is.
Floaty?
Who is it?
Ken Floaty? Isn't it
Oh, Ken
Floaty?
Floaty. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Now, here's my take on this. With regard to the density or the powdered look of her skin, and we
Hmm.
look at her hair, I'm kind of going back to the um King whoever Louis in France when they had that,
Louis, yeah.
the
Yeah,
you know the
powder
the
wigs and
powdered
stuff.
hair, the powdered faces.
Right.
Yeah. It's unusual to have the body that way though. But it's very consistent and it looks really cool.
Yeah,
So yeah, I can definitely live with the powdered look of the body. The one thing that would keep me from really scoring it super high would be the fact she isn't really grounded to the earth there. She
I
needs a
agree.
shadow.
I agree.
Yep. It's an interesting take on the framing,
Yeah.
but it's not
I'm
a
not a real big fan of the nose cutting the
Right
eye
here.
with
yeah,
camera
yeah.
moved.
I would almost like to have seen I know the umbrella is a definite part of it, but maybe have the umbrella not be the background of her profile. Again, that little turn to clean up the profile, but maybe have the umbrella either behind her more so it's not cutting through that profile.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, that's a
Well,
great point.
Jeffy,
stick to
those
the
in the
landscape.
know call it a parasol.
I'm gonna go back to my mountain scenes, okay?
Nice planning though. I mean, the feathers coordinate with the skirt, the white hair with the feathery stuff on the shadow, I mean on the shoulders. So there was some nice planning done on this.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The shoes could have been a different color, but you could actually lighten those and make those lighter, maybe white.
Sure.
And that would go better too. They're a little bit, they're the only thing that's the different color in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Bye,
I
John.
think the
That's true.
presentation is handled real well.
That's very cool. Yep.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay. We have next. Remembering the past. I think I clicked on the wrong one. When
Yeah.
just as that second click, the mouse slid. There we go. Remembering the past.
Ah, a lovely woman of a certain age. Yeah. Okay. So in planning this, I would have taken the scarf away or used a different scarf because we have a lot of stuff that's kind of drawing our attention away from this lovely lady. Like this area right here is very bright in comparison to the rest of this. And
True.
we've got a pattern down here. We've also got that pattern up there. Now you could darken those things down and decrease the contrast in the scarf here. That's possible. Um, but she's got a really nice look. As far as posing goes, usually you don't want to pose somebody straight onto the camera like this. Usually you want them at a little bit of an angle and maybe have the shoulders not quite level like that. We could zoom in too, maybe, or crop in so we don't have quite so much body. That's a possibility, but her face is very interesting. I like her face a great deal. I like her hair a great deal. There's just a lot taking away from it right now.
Well, I think so maybe even more like this.
Yeah.
I think I'm just guessing from the theme here that that patch says Vietnam on it is part of the story.
Okay. Yeah. So that's part of the story.
Yeah. But
Okay.
And that's kind of a camel type of a scarf, right? Camel
that's
looking.
that's what I'm thinking. It is definitely kind of a camo, so it fits the
Ah,
theme. Yeah. You just go back here. I think that fits the theme. I do agree
What's
that
the title again, Jeffy?
oops. Remembering the past.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I do, yeah, I can see this as a camo scarf. So yeah, if this was deeper, and especially this little strip on the
yeah,
shoulder, that would
especially that one.
let us come in. But you know what though, Ella, I think that thinking about that theme there in the Vietnam, the pose actually I think works real well for that because it is bold in your face, soldier, whatever
Yeah.
role might have been. That's it's like here I am, deal with me, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the scarf does ask for a little bit of attention. And also too, this is a tough one, but there's this darker area. Looks like she's got
Yeah.
a turtleneck on. That's quite kind of a black hole. I'll bet that could be lightened up to be more in the texture like the sleeve down here, just to not make it be a black hole. Um,
Yeah, for me, the texture of the sweater kind of gets in the way of the story a little bit. Because I'm thinking maybe she's the one that's the Vietnam veteran.
yeah, yeah, no, I think so. Yeah.
And so
I
maybe
agree.
something that was a little more canvasy, like her hat, would be a much better texture for her to be wearing. And then it kind of pulls the whole thing together rather than the sweater kind of pulling you away from that story.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, guys, talk to me. Zoom in, please, Jeff,
To
uh,
face
on
or
her face. Yeah, more towards her eyes. Okay, that's good. Talk to me about secondary
So
catch.
yeah, two catch lights. I did see
Do
that.
do we? I'm just
well,
guessing that the secondary catch light, because we got main lights coming in from camera left, is
yeah.
maybe a reflector. So talk to me about when, if, or should we include or take out a catch light, a secondary.
I I almost always take out the secondary catch light. I would
That's
take
how I
out,
learned too, yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And I would retouch the nasal hair too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
I would have probably taken this catch light out, this catch light. And there's even another reflection on the whites of her eye right there.
oh yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah.
I would have taken that. Yeah, I see the nose here. We zoom in that much. Sounds like
Man, you guys are mean.
I know.
well, it's
Can
an
I, this
absolutely
is,
okay, but seriously, it's an absolutely wonderful story.
It
Not
is.
knowing what her story is, just thinking about okay, here's a oh, I forget what they call these hats, but just with the Vietnam and the camo scarf, there's definitely some story here that's probably
uh,
will blow your
it's my,
mind.
I can tell you the story if you'd like. It's really quick.
Yes, please.
Nothing you say is ever quick, Cliffy.
So she came in and she said, I don't have my uniform. My uniform is in a trash barrel in the San Francisco airport. When I got off the airplane, people spit on me and I
Oh,
took off my uniform. And that was
oh,
the expression on her face when she told me that. That's when I took the picture.
Wow.
Wow.
how awful.
Wow.
Wow. Of
Wow. You know
course, in
that
those days.
there was a book that was just published called The Women, and it's about the Vietnam veteran women. And it would have been really cool to kind of include that in this because it's about her story, basically.
Yeah,
The
no
women who
kidding.
were in Vietnam who got no credit. They didn't even get the benefits that the men got over there. It's a
Right.
very interesting book.
She
So,
was a combat nurse.
yeah, this is exactly what that book was about. So,
But you think about, I
And
mean,
Cliffy, being a combat nurse, she had to have been in the same environment as the combatants. I
yes,
mean,
Well, well,
just what I
yeah,
was going to say.
yep.
yeah. Well, she was the one that was taking care of the guys that were bleeding out and whatever. Yeah.
wow.
Well, yeah, you think about the reason our guys went over there was to eliminate the enemy, so to speak, and she's over there to try and save the ones who shouldn't have been eliminated. I mean, what a position to be in, and then to be spat on to come back to this country. Oh, that just rips
Yeah,
my heart out.
it does. It's horrible. That,
Cliffy, you have a gift, my friend.
yeah,
El,
absolutely.
You'll have to. He's got a collect. He's been photographing. Guess how many have you photographed now, Cliff? How many guys? People?
180.
180
Wow,
vets in. Oh my gosh, just
that's terrific.
absolutely. You can't help but look at him without at least getting teary-eyed, if not more so.
Ella, you can go to the website. It's coloradoveteranportraits.com.
Okay, I will do that.
Definitely
Veteran
check
is
that out.
singular, portraits is plural. Colorado Veteran Portraits.
Good stuff, Cliffy. Thank you. Okay, moving on. We got about 8 more images to go here. Um,
Okay.
self-reflection.
Ah, nice glamour shot. Nice makeup on that. Lovely, lovely model. Very interesting with all the dots. Got a lot of texture in there. We've got the kind of watery texture going on down here. And yeah, nice glamour makeup. I'm turning my head so I can kind of see. This area right in here looks a little overly bright to me compared to the rest of her face, but I think it's a really cool image and very well thought out, well planned. Other than that little detail in there, I'm not seeing a lot. I think again, look at how we've got a bright spot here. I think maybe Bevel and Boss did that. We've got a bright edge here on the
Right,
presentation that we don't have following around the whole presentation.
right.
So yeah, you might want to be really careful of that. But I think yeah, it's a really cool image.
But look at how much challenge there is here. All of the silver, the reflection, this probably looks like the sheet of mylar she's laying on, and yet
Yeah.
her face still stands out as a primary focal point. Really good job to the maker there.
Yeah, super good job at not getting any bounce light back from that
Yeah, the
reflective
eyes.
surface into her face too.
Yeah, the eyes stand out beautifully. The lips, the contour of the lips, the whole thing is just done well. Rick,
Yeah.
what do you want to add?
Yeah, I had a concern with the key liner, whatever it is, as well. I'm troubled, quite honestly, with the really stark horizontal line of her arm. I just kind of feel that if there was a little bend in her elbow so that her hand was a little bit more in this area, it would be a little more inviting as far as leading into the image.
I
You
see.
know, just because it took me a while to see, well, where in the heck is her hand? And then I finally found it, but just
So just a little bend at the elbow to bring her hand that way, you're saying that
right.
gotcha.
Yes. And see, if we were on the jury, I would be saying, but she's emulating a swimmer and she's reaching forward in that swim stroke, and that's why her arm's straight. I could
Oh,
I
good
could
point,
fight
Ella.
for
And
Yeah.
I would counter, you're wrong.
that.
And that's why we have 5 jurors on a panel.
That's right, exactly.
I mean, Ella, just so you know, Rick is always right, but just so you know, Rick is the Chuck Norris of our, wow.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Ella.
Okay. We have one called Standing Alone. If I can get it to open. There we go.
Yeah, we're back in the cypress swamps here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, right in the middle. We've got our center of interest right smack in the middle, and it's not equal behind it, so I would definitely crop it one way or the other. I'm thinking crop off the right on this one, maybe. Maybe make it even a vertical.
Would you lose that tree on the right?
Yeah, I'd lose the tree on the right. I don't think we need it. It's so dark in the bottom anyway. Yeah, to me, that feels a whole lot better. We've got some movement coming in. We've got the tree there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that makes
The support of the repeating patterns back here, these other trunks.
exactly. Nice texture. I like the line on the trees. I like the featheriness of the foliage at the top. Nice. I might lighten, it goes so black right in here. If there's a
Right.
little detail in there to be had, I would pull that out.
Let's see if we can have that.
If you go up to image adjustments and shadow and highlights,
Oh yeah, there you go. Good idea.
that's a good way to see if you've got detail. Yeah, see, there's detail there. Yeah, let us have a little bit of that detail. Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might not want to go
What
quite
kind of
that.
presentation would you guys put on it? Would you put a museum type or gallery, I mean,
It was
presentation?
black with a key line. Do you think if they put I just I was wondering on this, if this was a white or off-white, that it would be too stark for his dark. Of course,
But
Yeah,
if we go down 10, 20, even 30% on the white.
yeah.
yeah, you could do that.
So and I'll just throw this at you. Here's the, I don't say argument or dilemma that I have, but in the fine art world, a lot of the fine art photographers that I follow, the placement of their subjects more times than not are right in the center. And our PPA world has really poo-pooed that one. And
Mhm.
I don't think either one's right or wrong. It's just that's what I think is interesting that something like this. And I study a lot of the current fine art world out there, and I can tell you 90% of the images, the single object or the main object is right smack in the middle of the scene. And it's just hard because we've been taught in our PPA world to do this instead.
Well, Ella,
Well, it's
you're a
about
graduate from art.
Right.
exactly. Well, and also I did a fellowship, and more than half of the images were smack right in the center because
Yeah.
I was doing faces, and I didn't have a background behind them to work with as
Right.
well. So that's part of the issue here is we've got a background that we've got to have some
Okay.
kind of balance with.
Okay.
So it's not just about the subject, it's about the subject in relationship to the background.
Makes
And in
sense.
this case, you need what's happening in this case in the original crop, if you go back the original, you're coming in, you're hitting the tree, and then everything to the right of it is kind of wasted because our eye stops right at the tree and we don't really get into the other stuff because of the way that we read left to right.
Right.
So, yeah, and there are a lot of non-rules in the fine art world. It's you're supposed to break rules in the fine art world
Yeah,
because
true.
you're supposed to think and create tension and create discomfort and create angst and whatever else. In PPA world, we want it happy, we want it soft, we want it lovely, we want it beautiful, we want it
Isn't
balanced.
that true?
Yes,
And you
yeah,
you really make some good points, Ella, because I describe it as provoking the viewer.
exactly. Yeah.
In
And I
the
love
in the
it when
fine art world,
somebody,
right?
yeah,
Beg pardon?
In the fine art world.
what was
You
that?
know what? I would say in any artistic uh, avenue, whether you're a photographer, in a organization like PPA or whatever, I think the not the better works, but the most appreciated works are those that provoke the
I
viewer.
see what you're saying. You're saying that's the point, is to try and provoke the viewer in one way or
Yeah,
another.
yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, yeah. You want to make people think in the fine art world. You're creating a story, but you really want to get them to think. So,
And what I think is funny about that, Ella, is that all the years that when my dad was a judge and I was learning, he would say the last thing you want to do is have to make the judges think. So that makes the point perfect there.
Well, and I
yeah,
totally agree. You don't want the judges make the judges think, but my feeling is you want to make them feel.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do.
Very true. All right. Good stuff on that one. I like that. We
Darn good.
now have, you'll love this title, Stay Dead.
Wow.
That opens up a lot of
Yeah.
thought
Wow.
process there. What do you think, Ella?
What an interesting image.
I know, just sit and look at it for a minute. Look at all the little things that really jump out at you.
Yeah.
I think help tell that story of Stay Dead.
I know. Talk about an art image. This
Yeah.
is this is kind of, I think for me, the bottom drops out of this a little bit. Let's see. Oops, sorry. I think this part down here isn't needed. I think that's kind of a distraction. And
Okay.
I'm wondering too if how much of that we need, because for me, the lock to the web or whatever that is, that's where the image is. That's what's really interesting. And that cross in there, yeah, try that. And
Yeah,
I
that's a
think,
little more powerful, isn't it?
yeah, and if we darken down that bottom, very evocative, very interesting image. Wow. We were just talking about art, and I'm not sure this is a PPA image, but I would think it's definitely an art image.
Oops,
Oops.
wrong tool. Oh, I was trying to see if I could do a trying to see if I could do a grading, but I had it all set up wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's probably a good point that this might be one of those images that, as strong as and powerful as it is, might not play as well in the PPA world. Because I mean, look at the cobwebs representing length of time and death, and the cross back here, and then the lock keeping us out or keeping death in, or however you want to look at it. Um, it
yeah.
does have some nice movement from the lock to the cross, and the webs and nice triangle through there.
It does. It does, definitely. This one's going to be very jury dependent. You have images that they're going to translate across all the juries. We're all going to say this is a fantastic image. This one, if you get me on the panel, I'm going to fight for it.
Yeah.
If you get another person, like I'm thinking Dennis Hammond is going to look at this and go, I don't like this image because it's not beautiful and it's not pristine and all that. He's very traditional in his judging. So it's going to be very jury dependent on how this one does. But I think fine art wise, I mean, that the lock to the cross to the web has so many connotations that you could read into that as far as storytelling. The bottom's just too light. You got to darken that though. It's bugging the heck out of me. They're just like sitting here going, "Arr."
We're just
But
trying
yeah,
to take
yeah,
the overall thing a little deeper. It has a bit more of a mystery
yes,
kind of a feel to
exactly.
it. And in this case, I like these shadows going without detail
Yeah,
because it's giving us more of the question of what's going on here.
me as well. Yeah. Cool image though. Cool
It
capture.
is very cool.
Somebody's got good eyes to pick that out and
Yeah,
photo.
and to tell that story, stay dead. I mean, just look at that, stay dead. So here was
Yeah.
someone been dead for a while. Here's the lock to keep him dead.
Yep.
What do you want to add to this, Rick?
A lot.
I'm not sure how to take that answer, but
If
go
I
ahead.
were on a panel, I would be lone on this in a heartbeat.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I
Um,
would be too.
the storytelling is there. Yeah, technical excellence. Yeah, okay. It's only one of the 12 elements. The storytelling is what carries this because we see the cross, but it's, in my opinion, as I'm looking at it, it's the crucifixion. And
Mm.
at the base of the crucifixion are those who love Jesus. The lock is Satan telling him to stay dead. And above the cross, we see the beads of a rosary
Wow.
as I'm looking at it. And we're seeing Satan telling Jesus to stay dead. And at the bottom right, I'm seeing the horizontal head of a skull.
Ah.
And, in the crucifixion and the rosary being behind these bars, behind the lock, behind um, this skull is the story that Satan wants us to know. But we all know the story of Jesus, you know, descending into hell, breaking with the key, taking the keys of hell, and bringing salvation. So I don't know. It's just, man,
Works
I
for
would
me.
have them. I'd love to have an image like this just to for my own personal sake. It's such a storytelling.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah, and that's when you can get a judge to tell a story like that, it's
Yeah,
gonna be so influential to the rest of the jury.
that's true. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. So, yeah, really
So,
cool vision.
absolutely. Um, Rick, you want to post your Venmo account on the thing for the maker?
No, I've already been paid.
That was good. Good stuff. This is why we do this show because we get to see some cool things and have some great conversations. You guys are so lucky you get to listen in. Okay,
Because
we now have this is
Jeff
one
and
of those.
Ella are here.
This
What's
is
that?
fun for us too. And this kind of
Oh,
stuff I
absolutely.
really enjoy.
And if you thought that was a good image, I'm setting this up. Sunset on Artist's Point. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh.
So, and I've been to this place and I have never seen this kind of point of view. And I just
Really?
absolutely,
Holy cow.
absolutely see these things and just am marveled by the shapes and the contours. But then to add this light, this sky, the composition, look how, oh my gosh. We've
Yeah.
got
Okay,
these
if
landscapes.
if I can just offer one thought
Oh,
here
absolutely.
is right about here.
I know where you're going with this.
Oh
John
yeah.
Wayne on his
Wow.
horse.
I know. I got nothing besides that. I mean, that is just the way the light is washing across that and
Man,
like
my.
it is just, yeah, gorgeous. Gorgeous. I think maybe the mat's just a hair too dark. I'd lighten that up
Sure. Yeah.
But
Maybe it's good color
anyway,
coordination, but yeah, maybe a
Yeah,
little
and we
light.
did talk about the key line in,
yeah, the key
blending in
line
with the
disappearing.
yeah, disappearing. Yeah. What are you
Yeah.
guys' thoughts? I I don't know if it was, the photographer was on land, if it's a drone or whatever, moving the position camera right so that there isn't this tangent point right there.
You want space in here?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. This is
Um,
your world, Jeffy.
well, I'm going to get in the car and go down there next. I'll tell you that. Yeah, I saw that first, but I think that in this case, because of how, look at the light on this one, it's a lot more harsh, dramatic. This is a little softer, like it's playing that second fiddle role.
Hmm.
Like it's bowing down to
I
the
guess what I'm thinking is, just the fact that they're butted against each
overlapping. Yeah, no,
other. Their beats.
yeah, I get what you're saying. I know that's kind of the so-called rule, but what I'm saying is because this one is so much more dramatically lit as this one's being softer, I
Oh,
think
okay.
that's
Okay.
different enough in its look to let them be overlapped. Let this one,
Yeah.
because of this strong, harsh lighting, this one's a lot more attention grabbing, and this guy is secondary. So I don't think, sure, I maybe if I was standing there, I probably would have come to the right a little bit if there's not. Uh, if I'm thinking, is this the second mittens? Is there the other finger right up there? That would what that would do then is attract attention to it
Yeah.
because the mittens are so prominent.
And
Uh,
you know how we've been talking about uh, a few times tonight, look into the image or another. Man, there's a lot of images in here
oh, isn't there?
that
Yeah,
could stand
Yes.
alone.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, look at these three over. Yeah, exactly. On the right, that's just stunning stuff. So I
Yeah.
think what this one kind of does, and with the title of it, Sunset on Artist Point, um, is obviously apropos. But I want to almost go something that really plays up this monument as being the strength, the attention getter, the storyteller, as opposed to the like he's dominating over the rest of these formations. Like, hey, there's a lot of us. Look at me. That's kind of how I'm thinking it maybe have been a little more
That's a
dramatic.
beautiful shot, man.
Isn't that
It
gorgeous?
is. It's
The
really nice.
colors, the colors, the sky, and oh my goodness.
Don't you love how the shadows work as leading lines to bring
Yeah,
it right in there?
yeah,
Hmm.
And then you've
exactly.
got this light to light to
Yep.
dark to light rhythm going on throughout, which is really so nicely done.
And then even having this light spot on this piece back here with a little bit of light and dark that just continues that pattern on the other.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why I think this looks okay overlapping that a little bit.
Okay.
Like I said, normally I probably would have stepped to the right as well as I'm standing there shooting it, but this works. So
Yep.
good
Well,
stuff.
if you say it works, Jeffy, then the
I'm in
world is
control.
good.
I'm in control of the recording. So if it doesn't work, I'm cutting you out. Oh my goodness. We now have the missionary's estate.
Oh, okay. Um,
A cool story.
it is a cool story. Yeah. It looks to me like maybe we've got such a dark, a vivid texture back here, very toothy texture back there. That's almost too much texture. I think I would have kind of maybe softened that a little bit. So it's not so much this being a part of the story, unless that's like the travel trunk that's there. But even then, I think I might darken it down just a bit. And red is a very challenging color to work with in matting or pinstripes. So I might go a little bit less red on that. I know we're picking it up from the red in the Bible, the verses in the Bible that were quotes. Um, but I might tone that down just a bit so we're not kind of pulled into the presentation more than the image itself. Between the gold and the red, I think it just brings too much attention to the presentation. But really nice storytelling here, and the placement of the objects is well done.
Yeah, it definitely is a wonderful story, especially with this title, The Missionary's Estate. It just makes you wonder about, okay, the missionary, where's this person been? What have they seen? What have they witnessed? um, there are states kind of the end of the story, and this is the story we're looking at. But you're right. I think some of the beautiful textures in this trunk or whatever, but maybe it's just a little bit overpowering. I kind of is it feel like it's maybe just been a little bit over sharpened. So
Yeah, that's I
feeling
kind of feeling I got that might be.
I'm feeling a little bit of a white outline, ghosting of the lettering that could maybe just
I
I don't know
think
if the
the
stories.
pages of some Bibles are extremely thin, so I think
Yeah,
Yes,
what you're doing is
yes,
seeing through the page.
that's true. That's true.
yeah,
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 thin paper.
that's the way I took it anyway, is that's what's going on.
Such a
yeah.
powerful story. Yeah, I think I maybe would have chosen a little different matte and stroke color. Um,
What would you think might be a good choice?
well, I think I'd probably maybe look at trying to come closer to the coloring of
Yeah.
the trunk that it's on.
Okay.
It's kind of a continuation. So it's there, it's coordinated, but it's not asking for attention because I think even though I'm guessing the coloring of the mat was probably trying to emulate some of the words of the Bible here, I'm thinking it's just asking for a little too much. So if the coloring of the mat was more in the coloring of the wood here,
Mm,
it would have just been more of a continuation of the trunk and not asking for more attention. I
yeah.
think it's kind of right on the fence there. It's good, but I think it could be more better to have gone a little lesser of the purple
Yeah.
wood cast to it. And the other thing too, and I'm not sure what you would do with this because it's part of it, but I think I maybe would have, especially this bolt head right here, or maybe all four of them. They are. This one especially just keeps pulling my eye down there. Obviously, you don't want to get rid of
Mhm.
it. Maybe if it's just
Yeah.
a little bit more blended in more with the color of the textures there, it would be a little.
Yeah.
But I
You
love
know,
this light coming across to just hit the bit of the book and the watch. That's just
yeah.
One
very
Yeah.
thing,
You know
Indiana
what?
Jones-ish right here.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, very much so. One thing I would do if I were shooting this is I wouldn't have the watch exactly perpendicular. I would have it at an angle.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's just too prim and proper, too
Yeah.
staged that way. It
Yeah.
looks,
And as I look at it, we're talking about these numbers, odd numbers, the cane, the Bible, and the watch, and the um missionary's estate. And, obviously, Ricky's into storytelling, but the tr- this is what's left of his life. The trunk that he went on this mission, his missionary journeys,
Yeah.
um, and the message he sent to them. Obviously, an older man that needed a cane, and you know, as far as worldly things, this is probably what he had. But the 3 o'clock, are we thinking about the Trinity? Are we thinking about
A good point. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, that's
Yes.
what I think. I love images like this because they do, as much as we don't want the judges to think, this definitely creates that story, but we want to lead them on the story to go to the end of it where we
right?
want them to
Jeffy,
go.
do you think this might work as a black and white?
I was just thinking that. Let's
Good
just see.
idea.
I have this little black and white function right here that goes, oh, yeah, you know what? I do like that. Let me play with the sliders here because I think, see, if I take that reddish cast out of the mat, make it a little more gray, it's not as obvious. Also, too, you notice how the words in the pages get to be a little bit clearer.
Mm,
And I'm just playing. This does bring the watch and the highlight on the pages a little bit more obvious. Where now the textures and the matte color and texture, all that are supportive, but they're not overpowering. The watch and the text really stands out now,
yeah, yeah.
as
How
opposed
about
to
a hue, kind of a yellowish, parchmenty type of a hue? Do you think that would?
on top of the black and white.
Yeah.
Sure. How about let's
And I
go
know we have some more to go, but
just a couple more. We're doing good. Um, let's do what I want to do here. My brain just went dead. I want to do Solid color. And you said what kind of a yellow gold?
Yeah, kind of a whatever parchment-y type of. Oh, that looks a lot better.
It's one in every crowd. Whoops.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Parchmenty. The words we're creating tonight, you guys say parchmenty. Yeah, see something like that now really plays up the words. Look how the words stand out more. Look how the watch stands out. Um,
Yep.
has given it an age appropriate feeling.
Yeah.
The mat is
Yeah,
supportive. The mat and the all work well with each other, not to be overpowering. That's cool right there.
it is.
That went up at least 2 points. No, I
Okay.
think that's very cool. All
Nice.
right. Very cool. Good stuff. Good suggestions. So then we have wearing his history and disk error. Don't do that. That's not good.
Uh-oh. We
I
missing a
I don't know if
no?
it's. Let me try. Okay, it might be that image. This is called Valley of Dreams.
Ah,
Yes. Good stories, good valley, good dreams down here.
yeah. Very
All
nice.
right, Jeffy.
This is a tough one just from my experiences to be able to get a foreground that is of this size and doesn't take over. I mean, obviously this is going to be probably more prominent in the viewer's eyes, but look at how well it works with the other formations. And you know what I love about this? Look at the color tones in here. We've got a very warm orangish cast right up in front of us, warm and inviting. And then look at how it goes to a cool, almost less saturated color in the background. That
Yeah.
really plays this up and makes this be very secondary. That right there, you guys, is just that's stunning right there. To have that many elements in the scene and they still have, even though some of them are kind of in front of each other, like here and that, but yet they still have their own problems. And look at the big wall back here that even though these guys are in front of it, it still has its own place in the story. That's very cool. The mat I maybe would lighten the mat just a little bit. I think it might be a little bit dark, but this is one. The only thing wrong with it is right down here in this bottom left corner. You know where I'm going with this one.
I know where that's going.
Jeff Johnson right there.
Yep,
Ella, what
yep.
do you think about this one?
Yeah, really nice. I really, like you said, the depth it's created with this beautiful foreground going into this secondary visual plane and then going back and we've got that super long distance faded out, just in the distance kind of scene. So you've got such depth here. It
Yeah.
just brings you right in. And I totally agree with you on the mat. It's too dark. It pulls us out of this image rather than kind of framing it. So, but yeah, really nice job on this.
Yeah, really like that color from the warmth to the cooler tones in the background.
Yeah, yeah.
Rick, you want to add anything to this?
Excuse me.
I can put Rick
Oh,
Avalos
that's
over this
that's what
corner.
made me cop. No, I'm
Rick's
in
all
awe.
choked up.
Well, no, here's the
Yeah,
thing.
I'm all shook up. I'm in awe of this image.
He's in
Beautiful.
awe. Here's the thing, though, that I know why he's going to think this is a beautiful background.
Oh yeah.
If we
Absolutely.
had the Native Americans standing right here, or the chuck wagon with the horses coming along here,
Right.
then
Wagon.
Yep,
the chuck wagon, then it would be 100.
yep.
All right.
What was the title on that one again?
The
Valley of
title is Valley of Dreams. Isn't that
Nice title. Nice
wonderful?
title.
Yeah. That's the kind of titles we're talking about, viewers, that it allows the judges to have a story, not terribly elaborate, not like it has to be tied to one thing, but it gives you that feeling like, yeah, look at that dreams, look at the what stories can we come up with in that.
And Jeffy, for the benefit of our viewers that maybe haven't been to these areas, or like Monument Valley and other areas, are there restrictions as a photographer being there? And we see these images and they're gorgeous. And do you have to, is there a fee to get into these areas, or are they open?
With all the different parks around the country, there are some different things. Monument Valley is actually they have a newer police force in there, so they do enforce the sunrise sunset thing. But during the day, you can get around there pretty easily, and there's some areas where you're already just on the road, you're already at a higher view of some of these places like this. But and we can talk to Maker about this, but I would say something like this, I don't think there was probably any restrictions for what they did.
Okay.
Jeff,
For how they
Jeff, you
shot.
want me to?
Yeah,
Since
Dennis, go ahead.
I just got back, and so this was just taken like a few days ago.
Yeah.
And so I know what they've done is, unfortunately, they have restrained more the hours of access. It's
Right.
now 8 to 3:30 as far as
Oh, wow.
you're not supposed to go in any later than 3:30. You're supposed to be out by 4:45, which is a huge problem
Yeah,
for
wow.
catching the light. So, the solution unfortunately involves money, and that is just go with a guide. Because with a Navajo guide, you can do anything. You can go in any hours, and you can go to any unrestricted areas or restricted areas. So that's really unfortunate. Now, what we're seeing here is Hunts Mesa, and it's a whole separate deal. It's the most treacherous Jeep trail that I or anyone else that I know of that has ever done it has ever been on. It is amazing.
Wow.
And I
I've
wasn't
heard, yeah.
exactly fearing for my life, but I mean, by the time I was holding on to I was gripping, the side of the door, and by the time I got to the top, my stomach was just in knots.
Oh
Oh,
my
And
gosh.
so it's fairly expensive to get up there. Like if you have more than one person, it's $500 a person, and you stay overnight, and he sets up a tent for you, and it was below freezing, but they had a real thick sleeping bag for me. I was alone on this trip. And he cooks a steak dinner, which was absolutely the worst steak I've ever had. The steak,
They
the
only
meat,
paid 500. I mean,
the meat was fine, but it was like on top of the flames for like 35 minutes. And you can
oh
just
Oh, gee.
no.
Oh my gosh.
But it's a wonderful experience. The morning is completely different from the evening, and he will drive you around for different viewpoints and all that stuff. So I highly recommend it. For $500, it's a steal. I don't see how they do it for that
What-
cheap a price.
Dennis,
Yes.
Dennis, what time did you take this photograph, more or less?
Let me see. This one was done at right as the sun was setting in the evening.
Okay.
Okay. And
So
what time did you get up in the morning? Because you stayed overnight, is that
no,
right?
no, it's the other way around. You go up in the afternoon.
Okay.
So this was the first
Oh,
scene in
okay.
the evening. Then you
Okay.
sleep and get up in the morning, and then you have a morning shot from another,
At about what time?
5:30,
Okay.
5:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm thinking is this is gorgeous, stunning. And here's my thinking. You went up the night before, you got a couple shots, slept, cold, ugly weather, had a $500 steak that you hated, got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and got a couple more gorgeous shots that are probably loan collection. And I'm thinking, that's why I do portraits.
And stay at hotels.
Dennis, I'm kidding you.
It's truly I mean, in a way, I hated to have to snap my camera. I just wanted to look. Jeff, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to just take it all in. And by the way, if you go alone, it's 650 because they're not splitting the cost with it. To me, it's worth twice that. And in the experience, even without the photos, the experience is just to die for.
Well,
For
I'm
sure.
hoping our viewers can connect with Dennis in one way or another because your work is just gorgeous and impeccable, and I'm ribbing you about all that other stuff.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. Absolutely. I really enjoy your work, Dennis.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, we got one more image to look at, and then we'll let you go. Whoops, I just closed it. I'm gonna try this. We had two, but the one didn't open. I'm gonna see if I can get this one to open again. And it says no. Sorry, maker, I can't get this one open. Okay, we have one more. This one's called, I'm gonna give you the title first so you can let it sink in. Unclaimed Soul.
Whoa. Wow.
Hmm.
That's interesting.
Go for it, Ella.
Yeah, interesting placement. We've got tension created by putting the subject on more to the left than the right. Um, we've got some really interesting shadows like down here and here that are happening. The choice to put the horizon line at a slant creates tension. Um, the one thing we've got this crazy texture going on, which I'm not sure. I definitely wouldn't have chosen myself. I'm not sure how it works into the story. And we've got a lot of stuff in here that is out of focus. So
Mhm.
we're breaking so many rules here, but
Yep.
it's so compelling at the same time. It's an interesting dichotomy here because this is kind of not a PPA picture at all. This is more of a fine art piece where this would be included in like an exhibit with other things like this that make you feel very kind of, ooh,
Uncomfortable?
uncomfortable,
Yeah.
definitely uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
especially with the title, Unclaimed Soul. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a really cool title and it's a really interesting art piece. Again, we've got little distractions like that. We've got the leaves up here, which kind of allude to this being left outdoors for a long time, maybe. And maybe this texture is, I bet it's a car seat.
Looks like
I
it,
bet
doesn't it?
it is. Yeah, I bet it is. I have a friend who goes down to Atlanta, not Atlanta, Georgia somewhere, and does these shots of a junkyard, and they have all sorts of
Yeah.
dolls
Old Car
in
Talk
the
to
City.
old
Jeff. Talk
cars.
to Jeffy about
Old Car
that.
City. Yeah.
Old Car City. Yep, yep, yep. So this may be part of that. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting piece, really creepy, really thoughtful, really very, very uncomfortable, which makes it a really cool art piece.
And the thing that I think really grabs me that makes it extremely uncomfortable is the pink bow, because we think of a pink bow as being this soft little cute little girl, and
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
And what was the title again?
um,
Unclaimed Soul.
unclaimed soul.
Unclaimed Soul.
Yeah.
Okay. And you talk about the pink bow, and doesn't pink usually relate to cancer? And I'm just trying to see how we can, if
Yeah.
there's a story in that. And I'm the least technically oriented person when it comes to these kind of things. But if we can come in a little bit on the face, Jeffrey, um, yeah, darn it. I'm seeing catch lights coming in from camera right, but yet the shadow is from camera left behind the subject.
Well,
So
I'm betting too, since this was a doll, those are painted on those
Yeah.
catch lights. They weren't front. Whoops.
yeah, but what I'm suggesting is
Oh.
that they're painted in the wrong place.
Oh,
If they, if they
Oh,
were
yeah.
painted.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know that I mean, there's a reality here, but I don't know if that kind of reality works or matters. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, yeah, it does.
Yeah, you could actually you could take those eyes and select them and flip them.
You could, couldn't you?
Yep.
Yeah,
Put the
but
catch lights in there.
and I'm all into the story and and the artistic thing, but light is light and physics
Yeah, you got a
Oh,
is
couple little
or
distractions
physics or
there.
what's the term? Physics is physics or physics or physics? It doesn't matter. When the light's coming in from the right, but we have a shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get you. I get you. Yeah, because we do have definite light coming in from the left to highlight on this side of the face, and that's shadowed. So yeah, so we could easily just have them
Yeah.
move the catch lights.
Yep.
Whatever. Creepy story, huh?
Very
Yeah.
creepy story. Yeah.
I would crop up from the bottom though. There's a lot of
There's a
soft
lot of space down
that
there.
doesn't need to be there.
Like along here, kind of a thing.
Yeah. I agree.
So
Interesting
if we
choices.
hurt anybody's feelings, it's Jeff's fault.
Fine. You signed the paychecks though, so
Well,
some more like
true
this, you're
that.
thinking.
By the way, Cliffy, your check's in the mail.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate it.
Something more like this, Al, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. Yeah, possibly. Yep. There's so much out of focus down in that bottom that's really not doing anything. So, yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job, people. And
Well,
look at me, I'm still awake.
we've gone a little long, but that's okay. I think we've had some, we got a good bunch of folks hanging out. Thank you, gang, for hanging out with us this long. Ella, thank you so much.
You're
Wonderful to
very
have.
welcome. Thank you
Awesome.
for the
Y'all were
invitation.
great. Y'all were great.
Ella, I can't tell you how much we appreciate your being here and taking your time. I mean, we're 10:30.
Yeah.
It's way past
Massachusetts
my
time.
bedtime, I know.
It's
Please
past
give
my
my
bedtime
regards
when we
to
start
Robert.
out here, so.
Ella, please give my regards to Robert. And
I will. I will. Thank you for the invitation. It's been a
Oh, yeah.
delight, guys. So.
and he's the jokester. I got to tell
Yep.
you a little bit of a story about Robert. When we were in Ohio for the ASP thing, he had just had a little did he have like a surgery or something like that not long before that?
Yeah, he's had a few. Yep.
And we were traipsing up and down along the river to find the waterfalls. And I mean, we were walking miles, and he was such a trooper. And it was just, as I remember, maybe a month before that he had some kind of a procedure. But man, that guy was such a trooper. And
He is.
yeah.
He's a good sport. So,
yes, he is. So
yep, he's a good guy. We've been married 53 years. So,
Have you
really,
really?
yeah,
That's
he's
phenomenal.
put
wow,
up with a lot.
you were a child bride, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So,
Well, Cliffy,
Well, thank you so
you've
much,
been married
Cliffy.
for a few years too, haven't you?
Yeah, we were married in '65, so
Wow.
yeah,
coming up on
Fantastic.
yeah, what, 58 years. Yeah.
Wow.
nice.
That's cool.
That's the secret
Cool.
to retiring rich, is stay with the same woman.
As,
And
as
I
a
learned, and I
retired
didn't,
CPA, I can vouch for that.
I didn't learn that twice. So
Very good. Good work, guys.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Ella, for
Thank
being
you all.
part of our
Wonderful time.
show.
Dennis,
Great.
thank you so much for joining in. It's so good to see you.
Well, it's great to see you, Rick. I'm glad I finally figured out who the heck Jeff and Rick were. I'm kind of slow.
Well, we got some other ideas we'll be talking to you about, so hang on for that.
Kim,
Okay.
thank you so much for joining in.
Yeah.
Awesome to be here. Thank you guys. I always learn so much.
I
Excellent. Good.
really only got to meet you when you came down for the workshop, and it was such a pleasure. I thought we had a great time.
Oh, fantastic time. In fact, I'm editing images from that workshop now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Good to see you.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
guys.
Good to see you all. Cliffy, thanks
Guys.
again for your hard work.
See ya.
Cliffy, you're the man.
Great to
Thank
see you
Good to
guys.
see ya.
Thanks.
Dennis,
Thank
it
you,
was good
Ella.
to see you.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Good night,
Bye-bye.
Dennis.
Good night. Thanks
Good
again.
night.
Thanks, Dennis, for joining us.
Thank you.
Cliffy, is he gone?
Now he is, yeah. He just
Vicky is.
lost him. So And we'll
So-
put this on our site too, Ella, and I'll send you an email. We have a YouTube page you put on if you want to go back
Okay.
and look, or we of course appreciate you sharing. And we are going to do your group there in a few weeks, do a private thing for them. So
Excellent. I
Yeah,
think
you
this is
have to know Mike Stone, huh?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I just renewed my mass membership last week. So, yeah.
And you hit it, Ellen, because we learn, and I always like to believe that, man, when I give programs or Jeff gets, and you guys, we all give programs, I think we learn as much or more than we impart.
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah. I've been teaching at a university now since 1999. I always learn something from my
Yeah,
students
yeah.
too. Yeah. And I think this kind of a program is super valuable, especially in the light of MIR, where we're not showing the competition to the competitors anymore.
Right,
So I
right.
think you guys are offering a great service here.
Well,
Good, thank you. Thank you.
Well done. Well done.
thank you.
Thank
So,
you. We
Well,
appreciate
you would honor us by spreading the word, and I appreciate it.
will
It's
do.
shameless.
Is there any other kind, right?
Right.
Right.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna go to
No.
bed, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, you do that. Thank you
Take
very
care.
much.
See you in the morning. See you
Wonderful.
later. Bye-bye.
Wonderful holidays. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for watching the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson and Rick Avalos. Learn more by checking them out at theimagecritiqueshow.com.